Let's rock. Thought I'd see if anybody's on. If you are, I'll talk. If not, I'm going to go for a 6.5 mile walk. Party. YouTube's sending less and less notices out. Less people can comment, people getting unsubscribed. I don't care. They can cancel my channel if they feel like it. Doesn't mean squat. Hey James, how you doing? Hey Rob, let's party. Just got them going to Wally World, rocking it. You know what I mean? Eating a couple goldfish. Hey Pocahontas, how you doing? You know, I was going to sign up for StreamYard again today. Hey Frisky. I just couldn't pull the trigger on it, man. You know, I don't want to be roped into those damn things that much, to be honest with you. Hey Terry. I don't know what engine's in that. I'll find out. Yeah, I want you guys to like come up with some ideas on a channel. I'm getting bored lately. I'm getting super bored. I quit caffeine today too. And I could tell the difference, unfortunately. Really could. I think I'm going to do a 6.5 mile walk, 6.4 mile walk here. It's cold out. Like 28. I mean, not compared to Michigan. I'm doing fine, Pocahontas. You guys got any ideas on chats or anything? Anybody have any input? Is there certain people you'd like to see me interview? You know, I'm still messing around with these damn books. But they're almost, I'd say 95% done. No, it's not. No, they're not bothering my stomach. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're not. Yeah, I don't think he'd do it. You'll never meet a nicer guy. I always find little dishes out and stuff for stuff that he's leaving food for. Like tonight, I came home, the possum was on the porch. He said, yeah, I gave him this, I gave him that. He made little beds for the cats, bought him a bed, stray cat. He's always making little dishes for these birds that can't eat big seeds. Yeah, I like the vultures. Yeah, no, that's StreamYard. I could do that. Oh, good for you, Tim. Good for you. Oh, wow, good for you. Oh, tell I said hello. Oh, good, Tim. Good. People at Walmart, yeah, that'd be cool. I could do that too because I know some of them. Yeah, the problem about that, Jolie, is, well, first of all, I never planned on, you probably know this, but, I was down there already. I mean, I was really interested in blight. I had a full appreciation of the state of affairs Detroit was in. And I knew that was a golden opportunity to go in those abandoned buildings. And when I'd go in, back then, when I started doing that, you could still buy the Detroit Free Press and Detroit News. And I'd drive down by the water and read the paper when I get a coffee. And I would run into the prostitutes a lot. Though neither one of those gas stations are there now. They were tore down for that new Gordie Howe Bridge. And I saw them buying a loaf of bread for the birds. and buying hot dogs and stuff for stray cats and chopping them up. And I knew they were active prostitutes. And really, hey, Pug, how you doing? That's what got me interested. Hey, Martha. Oh, that's cool. So that's how I started doing it. So, you get to know them, you don't know anything. I mean, I'm glad it worked out the way it did because, if I'd have known them what I know now, I probably wouldn't have done it. When you really think you kind of help, and people were very gracious and nice, and they wanted to give them food and gifts. And I was just thinking like, maybe you could help them out a little bit. Well, as it turns out, that's not really that now. So I thought to myself, well, you really don't help them out that much. Big deal. You take them a lunch, you give them something to eat, give them a little stipend for a 5 or 10 minute interview. And you always in the back of your mind when you don't know anything or thinking that maybe they will like just need a helping hand. Well, that does happen occasionally, like Sherry, although I had nothing to do with that. But overall, and then like probably 20 of those girls are dead from those interviews. So when you think about that, I always said I went down there. I never planned on saving anybody. I just wanted to get their story. But it's hard not to get attached to them and involved with them and worry about them. It just is. I mean, it could be way worse. I kind of block it out of my mind. But when it was all said and done, what good really came out of that? Nothing. You got to see what the life was with a working girl, and I just not being naive and thinking that it would get better. Just really didn't give me enough left to think that I should just keep doing it because it was never about like YouTube views, none of that stuff. Hey, Bobby. Yeah, COVID. Yeah, you're right. And those cops were writing $400 tickets to prostitutes. You'd be hard pressed to find a more fucked up city than Detroit. Really. I see they're auctioning off one of the towers of the Renaissance Center, which was, I think, completed in 1977. I mean, it's just a dump. I mean, I wish they'd come back to it, but I'm not that stupid. Now that everybody in the world's I don't know, Marcia. I don't know on that. Now that everybody in the world's making cars, the manufacturing car companies in Michigan are nothing compared to it's a small two now, not the big three. Whenever I take those animals and I drop them off at rehab places, I don't burden them with thinking that you got to keep me updated. I'm glad they took them. I'm glad I had a place to go. I wish the best for them. I did it with those dogs I trapped. I do it with everything. They're busy. I give them a donation while I'm there and just hope everything works all right. Honestly, I'm better off not knowing. And it's a pain in the ass. I worked in a wildlife rehab before in Michigan. And let me tell you, you're always juggling balls in the air with trying to keep a bunch of people that love animals happy. And it's not easy. And part of that is calling them and letting them know how a damn possum's doing. You don't have time for that. But yeah, you depend on donations. So you're always kind of splitting hairs between doing what they want you to do, putting up with them, and accepting the money. It's not easy. Yeah, who's going to move there, Terry? Nobody wants to live in Detroit. Crooked police department, terrible school system, public transportation sucks. Oh, Goodwill? Yeah. I'd be too bored with that. I don't do anything that I'm not genuinely interested in. You could offer me $1 million to do something, I wouldn't do it. Yeah, that's another scam. They did restore trains. See, this is what the general public doesn't know. They restored the train station without paying any property taxes. They got a tax abatement for 30 years and all sorts of federal funds because it was a historical building. Ford Motor Company put more small businesses out of business than anyone. And they brag about not borrowing any money when the car company struggled. No, they're down there not paying any taxes. What good does it do for the residents of the city? None. It's all a big show about how great Ford is and they want to revive the city. They're down there for nothing. Actually, they're getting subsidies. I would love to interview circus people. I just don't run into them very often. Hey, Bobby, how you doing? So that's another marketing ploy by Ford. They're a bunch of shitbags, if you ask me. That's why their stock, it's only $10 a share now. No, it will never return like we're used to. Like a lot of things. When you're from an area like I am, hey, Clay. Yeah, when you're from an area like I am, you get used to that. You don't think there's any other way, but it's happened with all sorts of industries, farming, manufacturing. Manufacturing's coming back, though. Oh, a hug. Oh, big time subsidies. Yeah, absolutely right. They're down there for nothing. You can't, and so is that Dan Gilbert, the Quicken Loans guy, Rocket Mortgage. You got these predators that go in cities that are going tits up and paint themselves as the savior of the place. And what they do is they get in. Gilbert did it in Cleveland, too. They get in, they tell everybody how wonderful they are. They build 300 low-cost income housing projects, and then they get filthy rich by betting everything penny on the dollar and not paying any taxes. It's all bullshit. Fred McMurray's a great actor. They said he was the cheapest guy in Hollywood. Well, Ford, the beginning Ford, not his kids or grandkids, was a super anti-Semite. He hung around with a guy named Father Coughlin, Shrine of the Little Flower. Look him up, Father Coughlin, Coughlin, total scumbag. And Thomas Edison vacationed with both those guys. Yeah, Henry Ford was a major Jew hater. Big time. Now, that was a long time ago, and, I don't think they're that way now. But that's the way things look up. That's an interesting story, Father Coughlin. I had a guy try and hire me to do some research for him on a book. He did eventually publish a book, a Jewish professor from Oakland University. I just wasn't that interested in it. I was swamped already in what I was doing, and there wasn't going to be much money in it. And I really never thought the book would get published. And I think it eventually got published. He self-published it. Oh, I don't doubt that at all. Yeah. I'll tell you, if you're into like labor, look at when Harry Bennett was trying to bust the unions. That's an interesting story too. Harry Bennett, he was the union buster for Ford. Yeah, it's live, John. Yep. Sovereign citizens, well, I mean, I can tell you what it's supposed to mean. And that is that, as an example, the Native Americans, they want to be called First Nation now. I'm glad you brought that up because I'd be glad to talk about the Indians too. They don't really like being called that, but, I try not to. First Nation's what they wanted to be called. I'm all for it, but, the United States traditionally has been fair for the most part. Now, I'm sure you're not going to hear that from Native Americans. My take on that is the beef is really with the British, not the Americans. Now, the United States demonstrated poor behavior towards the Native Americans back in the day, and even to this day after that. So is there an argument that they could have treated them better? Canada treats them even worse. My take on the whole thing is the sovereign nation, I think it's good. That way you can protect your own area, have your own laws, but yes, you can fit kind of a society within a society. I'm all for it. I mean, I think that's the least they could have done. I think the reservations are a joke. It's the old adage, be careful what you wish for, because, everything, the federal government doesn't exactly have the best programs in the world that benefit people that they have a strong arm over. And the Indians are perfect examples. These reservations that they give them, by and large, with the exception of one in Michigan, up near where Mary lives, are just property that's not worth a shit. You can't really farm most of it. It's out in the middle of nowhere. A lot of them are hotter than hell in the summertime. And the difficulty with having that is that they don't own that. That's basically a lease to a sovereign nation for eternity. They never really own it. And because of that, they can't get mortgages. It's hard to get a business loan. Now, if you look at Native American populations in general, they don't seem to really do that well. Although there's an argument that they haven't been quasi-free for long enough to demonstrate it. And, let's face it, the white man has a tremendous advantage just by virtue of running things way before they got here. So I think they should give the Native Americans the property that they've let them lease as sovereign Americans. They still have to pay income tax, and they're still subject to all the same rules and regulations you are outside the nation. A downside, that a single female Native American woman has a 8 times chance of getting raped inside the reservation than outside. And if you look at Native Americans when they run away or when there's murders outside the reservation, it's a real stickler because nobody really has true jurisdiction over them. And you can't get law enforcement outside the reservations to do much about it. There are hundreds of murders that are unsolved with Native Americans outside the reservation. Once one of those kids gets away and runs away, they're basically gone for good unless somebody recognizes them somewhere. But it's just kind of a broken thing. I'm glad for them, actually. By and large, Native Americans vote Democratic. But, a Republican did more for them than any active president that I've ever read about, and that's Ronald Reagan. Yeah, he really did. Well, believe me, they get tons of government assistance. The Native Americans get tons of government assistance. Now you can say, what do you mean? Well, government, we're paying rent. They've got this land they don't pay anything for. Well, depends how you look at it. They milk Medicaid dry everywhere, particularly out west. Just crazy amounts. Yeah, on government assistance. I don't. That's a complex problem. The alcoholism. I've been out there. I've interviewed these people before. You go out west. They're everywhere. Any big city, the Dakotas, north and south, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arizona. They're in all the big cities. You're hard pressed out of a population of finding people that you would consider successful. But, this is what being contained and putting in a big holding pen do to you. Basically, they just gave them a big piece of property that turned into like a ghetto that didn't involve African Americans. I'm glad they got the casinos. I think they were able to get legal representation and get some of the land back that they should have never had taken from them to begin with. I think the casinos were a good idea. That kind of backfired on the old white man, though, because the original reason for the casinos was to get them off the welfare rolls. Yeah, and by and large, most casinos, it's up to the different tribes to determine how they want to work the revenue from casinos. Some places, they split the money up and everybody gets a check, like a Soaring Eagle. Up where Mary lives, they take the money and they have a healthcare clinic there, and they take the money and profits from the casino and they turn it into the infrastructure, Wi-Fi, internet, a nice marina where the tribal fishermen can fish, those kind of things. So it's apples and oranges in how they're treated. But a lot of these Indian casinos really don't make much. You're going to find examples where they do. You'll hear in the media they're getting $50,000 a year to sit home and drink. That's nonsense. Oh, you're a Chippewa. Oh, interesting. Oh, Thunder Bay. Oh, congratulations. Yeah, Thunder Bay. Thunder Bay, Canada, that's the most crime in the entire country of Canada, Thunder Bay. But I'm all for the Native Americans. I think they make up stories and they lie about them decimating the fishing population. Whitefish is an example. Yellow perch and lake trout. I think it's absolute nonsense. It's sport fishermen that did that. and it's the alewives, and it's the white man introducing salmon into lakes where they don't belong. Salmon should not be in the Great Lakes, period. Oh, that's not Ollie. Block her then. Get rid of her. Get rid of that Ollie. Block her for good. What would you want to do with your share? Oh, of what, Alika? Health and wealth? I don't know about that. I've never heard that. I don't know why. Thunder Bay, Canada. Yeah, that's where Paul Schaefer's from, the keyboard player. Hey, Rogue, how you doing? But I say, oh, Blackfoot, French Canadian. Oh, good to have you. The Blackfoot are out in Glacier National Park. Yeah, get rid of her for good. What would you do with your share? You talking about me or what if I had a share? If I was a part, I think I would vote to invest it in the infrastructure. But let me tell you, you go up to a place like where Mary lives, up in Lenawee County or Leland. What do they call that? What's that county in that? Leland, just north of Traverse City. You go to the courthouse there, which is all upper middle class. That whole area, the property's super expensive up there. You go to a court there, and you'll see all Native Americans getting arraigned. The casino money, I think it's up to them. I mean, it's a sovereign nation. I think the idea is to better yourself, to make more opportunities available. Poverty creates no hope. And I think it's just like the ghettos in places like Cleveland and Detroit and LA, except they're Native Americans instead. There are not enough examples of really getting out of there. And, one of the ways to dull pain, as you guys are well aware of, is drugs and alcohol. I mean, it works. It doesn't work in a good way, but it's better than I can't imagine sitting around sober on an Indian reservation. And the Inuits up in Alaska, same problem. Treat them like shit. Oh, good. Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye. Checking immigration. Yeah, well, they can say that now, but they're going to end up. See, Las Vegas probably has a problem with labor. This is kind of the conundrum we're faced with this deal with these illegals. Here's the truth of the matter. It's like driving around without insurance or not wearing your seatbelt, right? I don't know of anybody that has a problem with illegals being here that are not breaking the law and working. I mean, really, it's a significant part of the infrastructure of labor. They work like dogs. They never complain. This house was built through subcontracted Mexicans now I can't say whether they were illegal or not, but it's hard for me to believe that when you come over here and you try and talk to them, they don't know English, they're over here legally. Now that's kind of a jump in logic, but I can tell you they did a good job, and you can't get a white guy to apply for a construction job around here. So I don't know of anybody that complains. It's not any more legal or illegal. It's the wrong thing to do. But I don't know of anybody that's complaining about illegal Mexicans over here that aren't murdering people like the guy did up in Athens, Georgia this last spring. Nobody has a problem with those. The ones people are complaining about is the rapists, the murderers, and it all circles back to vetting. Well, if you vetted everybody, then you'd know who was who. That's right. But the most egregious example of the whole population is violent crime and the benefits that they were obtaining when they shouldn't even be here. We've went through this a million times with Stephanie. She can't get dentures, but if she was in New York, waited across the Rio Grande, she'd get rent, food, a stipend, and probably her teeth fixed. Yes, I agree. Yes, I do. No, but it's all. That's why there's so many party stores and bars outside of reservations. No, but I've been up in Alaska, and the same thing with the Inuits. You're the white man. He can go and get a 6-pack whenever he wants or have wine shipped to his house, but they're going to make it a federal crime that the Native Americans can't drink it because they drink too much. It's just another one of these ambiguous, ridiculous laws. Yeah, Tiffany Moser, get rid of her for good, too. That Tammy, A Penny, is, you got white guys making the laws. They do have better representation now, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, than they've had, but it's an uphill battle. Oh, these executive orders today. No, it's crazy. No, John, I believe that's true too. Yeah. Now, if that happened where you're at, and that's by people that shouldn't be here, I agree with you. You can only reflect on examples that you know to be accurate. That's not like that around here. They can't get anybody to do anything around here. And another thing I want to mention too, I talk a lot of shit. Yeah, super cold. I think it's 24 out right now. With regard to these, liberals. Yeah, I talk. I'm just my personality. You know what I mean? I've been that way my whole life. I'm not saying it's a good trait, but look, there were good people on here. I know that if they were your neighbor, if you worked with them, you'd think they were great. And it just finally got to the point with me where, in good conscience, this is a channel that I started to kind of timestamp my own life, things that interest me. It's like it was never like planned to like build this channel and make money and have all these viral videos and this kind of stuff. That was not the idea at all. And if you look at my videos from the beginning to you look at them now, I've kind of stuck to that. I don't even monetize videos anymore. I hope I never get a viral video again. I could care less. YouTube goes out of their way now to de-promote me, but that's okay. I've had a good time. It was a good run. If they ended my channel tomorrow, that's the way it goes. But the people that were here, yeah, it's cold. The people that were here that were moderators, you guys know who they are. Blue Malibu, Mary, Rita. I mean, they're good people. I just in good conscience couldn't have a private channel that wasn't this big popularity contest, knowing how they voted. I let this stuff go up until this last election. I knew how they felt, and it's up to you to vote how you want to do. But I just am not the personality to act like I have an interest in having a conversation with you when I know you vote that way. And I just decided that I didn't want them to be moderators. If I'm in a good position here in the sense that I can tell the truth. I don't need a job. I'm not running for office. And if they cancel my YouTube channel tomorrow, so what? So this is how I really feel. And I feel like liberated to be able to talk it this way. But I maybe have come across as like they're enemies, and they're not. I don't think that at all. I think they're good people minus their judgment when it comes to voting for presidents. Oh, yeah, they're trying. Yeah, Detroit was great. But, a lot of places were great back then. Here's another thing, you guys. Here's the real issue. The real issue, it's a global economy now. This is the problem, Back if you need an influencer. Okay. All right, sure will. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's a global economy now. I mean, everybody's making everything. I mean, the world's in a mess. You look at the financial standings of most countries, unless somebody strikes it rich. Let me tell you, I think that the Trump getting in was a last-ditched attempt at, throwing a life ring to someone that was drowned. I mean, this country is in such terrible shape, it's ridiculous. You got these crazy cities wanting to defund police departments. You want to give free tuition to people that have never worked a job in their life. Groceries are through the roof. We've got oil reserves that they want to shut down the pipelines for because they went through some duck's nest in North Dakota. People are tired of it. And, You just look at the difference between now and 4 months from now and how this economy is going to be heading in the right direction. Jobs are coming back here. This is shot in a beer time. This is not being bought off. It's just things are about to change. And let me tell you, I'll tell you this too. I think Trump is a super fucking jerk. I do. I'm sure when they tag my videos and, don't give me notices, they think that I'm just a right winger through thick and thin. That's not really true. I look at policies individually, and it's just like a jury trial. You look at the good and the bad, and you make a decision on who you're going to vote for, and that's exactly what I did. But as far as never coming back, no, Tammy, no, they will never come back. Not like not like what you were used to at your age, not like what you knew about. No, those days are over. Flint's a dump. Detroit's a dump. Chicago's a dump. Seattle, it's going to be a dump. They've ruined San Francisco. No law and order. People all over the place. Yeah. You look at manufacturing. Yeah, it's a business person. He's going to run it like a business as opposed to a popularity contest. And look, he's made mistakes himself. He's went bankrupt and things. But I'm just saying, overall, if there would have been a third candidate, I'd have looked at them too. I mean, he's far from perfect. And really, when you look at the tweets and stuff he does and the porno movie star and paying her out of campaign funds and those kind of things, yeah, I'm with you. But all in all, it was the right thing to do. I thought it was the right thing to do. Vote for him, and we're going to see. I do feel bad for people that are over here that have had jobs, that have established lives, that have contributed to, let's say, the construction industry, that are getting sent back. But, there's not going to be a perfect scenario. And if you had a crystal ball, you could send back the bad ones and accelerate some kind of legal immigration policy for the ones that we'd be glad to have, because a lot of these people that are over here that shouldn't be, that are working and doing a good job and not breaking laws, I'd be all for making a provision for them to get a free pass once they were vetted before they were deported. But, it's not a perfect situation. What is, right? I'm just glad that, I'm not like ecstatic about this whole thing. I'm not jumping up and down every day. I mean, it's unfortunate, but anybody that would have voted for Harris has definitely got rocks in their head. They need to take a class on economics. Another thing, too, and I've talked about this a bunch, is these crazies in these cities and these Democratic candidates have villainized capitalism. You don't know how lucky you are to have people like Elon Musk here, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos. You see what TikTok did, don't you, when Trump got in? They bowed down and kissed the ring. Mark Zuckerberg went down to Mar-a-Lago and was trying to make up. Jeff Bezos apologized. These guys are finally seeing the light. When you get a guy as smart as Elon Musk is to jump ship and support Trump, it's something to think about. Well, I'll tell you, I think one of the reasons he gets so much hate is traditionally, this electric vehicle thing is a scam. That's the only caveat that I have that I'm suspicious about with Elon Musk. But that's just one thing in the many things that he's been successful at. But this electric car is a fantasy. I mean, I think he was smart enough to realize at the time, he's smart enough to understand that all this electric vehicle subsidy crap through the Democrats was going to go south. And maybe that's why he switched to Trump. But these Teslas, as an example, this Tesla truck like Marty's got are junk. You can't give those away new. If you bought one today, you'd have to sell it for $50,000 less than you paid for it. And a bank doesn't want to give anybody a loan for it. During this cold weather, Marty's not even able to use it. Can't even use it. If you're living out in California and you're rich and you want to run up to the store to get a loaf of bread in your Tesla, now we're talking. But as far as a practical vehicle to get from A to B, you're dreaming. You're out of your mind. They're junk. Yeah, cash for clunkers. Yeah, but these are all Democratic ideas. The thing that I find really interesting with the Democrats is the super smart Democrats, the really bright ones, like the guys that own Google, Zuckerberg, all these smart Jews. They are absolute experts at getting the dumb Jews to do all their dirty work for them. They're sitting in their $1 million mansions, flying around in their private jets to their private island. They're getting all the dumb Jews to go out and picket the oil manufacturing companies, bitch about a pipeline up in the Straits of Mackinac, try and get hunting canceled, defund police departments, block the road going into Burning Man. The smart Jews just trick the dumb Jews to do all the dirty work. Now, in Hollywood's the same way. Thankfully, Hollywood's in the tank right now. Who cares what Matt Damon thinks? Ellen DeGeneres. I hope they all move and never come back. Who cares what they think? Yeah, no, they're junk, Tammy. Yeah, they really are. They're not practical at all. Yeah, just nobody pays any attention to Hollywood anymore anyway. Who cares what they think? You know, Matt Damon's going to tell you to drive an electric vehicle while he drives his 911 Porsche Carrera and flies around in his Gulfstream 5. They're going to tell you how to live while they live in their 25,000 square foot mansion. Yeah, Hollywood's done. I'm sure there's going to be all sorts of controversy that's going to be, there's going to be lawsuits. I see one of these federal judges put a stay on being born here. I mean, does it make any sense? You got a guy and a girl, married or not married. They come over here illegally and they have a kid, and the kid gets citizenship. It's nuts. Now, I didn't check to see what judge did that, but I guarantee it's a liberal judge that has been appointed by a Democrat somewhere along the way. The View, yeah, totally crazy. But, Whoopi, she got caught lying about a bakery that wasn't going to serve her, trying to turn everything. If a bakery has a power failure, Whoopi's never going to tell you that. She's going to come back and say that her cake wasn't ready when it should have been because she's black. They've made a living at this. I saw that scumbag, that Ice Cube, that idiot. I see he's representing some crap on TV now. You remember when he was bragging about being cop killers on records that he was producing about 20 years ago? Evidently, the liberals swept that under a rug, and he's back out representing someone's product now. Yeah. Yeah, The View, they make fools of themselves every time they talk. Yeah, fools of themselves every time they talk. So you're going to see these subsidies will quit this. I'll tell you, I do find this interesting. I find it interesting that, what's going to happen. Trump has been on record as saying electric vehicles are a joke, and he's right. And here you got a guy that he's got part of his cabinet now who makes electric vehicles. So I'm curious on how this whole thing's going to play out. And, but back to why you thought that people hate on Elon so much. Well, because I think they thought he was like a lifelong liberal. I mean, he fit the mantra. I mean, Tesla's never made money on any of the vehicles that they manufactured. It's all the stock, it's based on what you think it's going to become, not what it is. So, he appealed to everybody that lived this fantasy of not using fossil fuels, and it worked for a while. I'll bet you money if you held a gun to his head and you got him drunk, he'd tell you those vehicles are junk. But at the time, if you're getting subsidies and you got the federal government in your pocket, you don't really care how many of them you sell, because any money you're making, you're keeping through subsidies and tax abatements and all sorts of deal chasing this dream of electric vehicles, which, by the way, as you probably know, most of them these charging stations are run by fossil fuel plants, exactly what they said they bought a Tesla for, to stay away from those things. They don't even know where the power is coming from. They're so dumb. I went with Marty one day and we charged up his Tesla, 89 kilowatts, which you can imagine 12 Teslas charging at the same time. I told him when we were there, I'd love to see the electrical work underground on what they had to do to be able to generate that kind of power and make it available at that rate to 12 vehicles at the same time. Yeah, studio gangster. Yep. Yeah, total pussy. Yeah, have options to not be forced. That's exactly right. Oh, big time. Yeah. But I think Elon will, I think when you look at the money that he's getting through this SpaceX and through saving these astronauts, I think that Tesla stuff will be chump change compared to the bigger picture. Space is where the big bucks is at. Yeah, not making these goddamn roller skates. Look, I mean, you ever see somebody like a model or something, and they're so fucking ugly, they almost look beautiful to you because your mind is trying to assimilate what it is you're looking at, and they're so strange looking. There's a girl that waited on me tonight where I got a pizza in Thompson. I would describe her as exotic looking. And the more I looked at her, the prettier I thought she looked, and just kind of like weird looking, eyes kind of far apart, almost like a hybrid Oriental. I don't know, very nice girl. I really liked her. But this brings me back to like the Tesla truck. Is there an uglier vehicle in the world? I mean, this thing looks like a metal piece of cheese. You can't see out of it at all. You can't go anywhere in it when the weather's cold. Yeah, you can put it in the beast mode and you can make all your friends pass out when you hit the accelerator. And, you can pass everybody lining up at a gas station on a warm day. But let me tell you, these things are not in any way practical. Yeah. 89 kilowatts. 89, Jim. 89 kilowatts. Yeah, it's insane. Can you imagine doing 12 of them at a time? I know. Oh, I just happened to be sitting there eating, and there was two couples. It was a black couple and a white couple, and they got in some kind of argument. And at first, the guy got up, and then she got up later, and then they said something to her. She was leaving. That's about all I know about it. Yeah, some kind of argument. I think that if I had to guess, I think the guy was threatening to upload a video or a photo of her doing something. Because she went over and threatened him about uploading anything with her face on it. Hey, Jeff, how you doing? Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see how things going, but at least there's hope. I'll tell you, that weather we got here a couple of days ago was bad. I was going over to get a pizza tonight, and I saw a semi truck maybe 100 yards off the road, and the whole front end was smashed in. It was in the woods. And I thought, I bet they know about this. And I called and said, hey, you probably know about this. And she said, yeah, it happened yesterday. We were waiting for some of the snow to melt before we tried to pull it out. The guy did not get hurt. The guy didn't get hurt. Yeah, but the roads were terrible. They had just these insane accidents on I-75 south of Atlanta. If you were going back and forth from like the northern states to the southern states, like let's say Detroit to Florida, that area, as you get south of Atlanta, if you stay on 75, down around Macon, and it is like a drag strip. It's like 8 or 10 lanes wide. It's insane. Just millions of cars all the time. When you look at Florida, I mean, everybody wants to get on I-75 and not worry about getting on and getting off. And that's sort of easy, although 75 is a little tricky as you go through Atlanta. But there are alternative routes. And if there's no snow, go that way. Going through Atlanta is an absolute nightmare. It really is. I mean, once in a while you'll get lucky, but you never know, man. It's busy there at 3 a.m. And like where I go to 20, if I go into Atlanta, I lived down here before one time, not long, few months. Man, once I went to Atlanta once, I thought, no, there's no way I'm putting up with this bullshit. Yeah. So I didn't. But if you guys can think of anything like on a StreamYard or anything like that, interviews or something like that, I definitely welcome them. Yeah, but the weather's crazy, isn't it? And this global warming thing too. And I mean, the truth of the matter about global warming is you can have anomalies. When you look at it from a scientific perspective, they're talking about a mean temperature increase over a certain period of time and the effects it has over, let's say, 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit, which can still happen except for like an aberration like these cold days. So I know when I go on there and talk about global warming that I'm driving the liberals nuts because they think I'm just like the most ignorant, stupid guy in the world, that because we've got cold weather and snow that global warming hasn't occurred. And I know it drives them insane, which is why I do them. No, Atlanta's a killer. Yeah, it really is. Traffic wise. A lot of nice suburbs. It's 1,000 times better than Detroit. I mean, if you go around Atlanta, there's all sorts of like cool little suburbs with neat things to do and, microbreweries and places to eat and that kind of thing. And there's also places you wouldn't want to go, you know, but it's nice. If you go down to like an event down there, it's pretty damn impressive. I mean, they realize that's their golden egg, kind of like the Magnificent Mile used to be in Chicago, another dump. And they want to protect that. They have all sorts of national cheerleading competitions there, and like the AMA and Lawyers of America and the World Airline Group. And like I went to the World Helicopter Convention there. Yeah, they got crazy. They got like 7 and 8 inches up around Tallahassee. Yeah, nuts. And Penny got it nailed out there in Texas. That whole in Panama City Beach declared a emergency. Nuts, man. How would you like to have like planned your vacation in Panama City Beach? Although, there's 3 temperate zones in Florida. And whenever you're planning northern Florida on a vacation, you're taking a chance for cold weather in January. Yeah, you've got like Orlando, West Palm Beach, Key West, 3 different temperate zones. And there's a big difference. I don't know what the temperature, if you look at like the temperature in Jacksonville, I mean, that's way up there. And even here, like Lexington, Kentucky is halfway between here and Detroit, or West Branch, actually, West Branch. It's halfway. So, I'm still another 475 miles south of Lexington. But, you see the cold we're getting. And if you consider Panama City Beach, that's another 425 miles south of me. So that's pretty impressive that you would get that kind of cold weather with that kind of snowfall this time of year, although it's always a possibility. Oh, did you? Okay, yeah. Panama City to Gulf Shores. Okay. Yeah, I was just down there in September. So, this is a time for big changes. You know what I mean? I hope that, yeah, New Orleans, 4 to 6 inches. Yeah, I know it. Nuts. No way, 150 grand. They're like 650 grand. Robinson makes them. No, a low-end helicopter now from them is about 650 grand. The turbine version's about $1.3 million. These big, cool looking. There's a guy that just started a really good helicopter channel. He flies a Pilatus and he flies a helicopter for this outfit. It's called More Left Pedal. No music, no narration, just flying a kick-ass. I think he's flying a Bell 420 twin-engine helicopter, but those are like $16 million new. Yeah, check out that if you like helicopters and that interests you. More Left Pedal. It's a good channel. Yeah, and like I said, no corny music and no narration. John, he just did a winter IFR trip here recently. Yeah, they for a long time had the worst safety accident rate in aviation. Robinson's. The turbine does much better, but they had a lot of problems with those things. Transmissions, tail rotor failures. No, it's crazy. And that's nothing compared to what it costs to operate on. When I had that bed and breakfast down in Florida, I had a guy that had an Augusta 109. He would land it in my front yard, and he paid $4.5 million for that. And that was like in 1996. And with the pilot, the insurance, everything calculated, it was $3,300 an hour to operate. $3,300 to operate. Retractable gear. Yeah, Gusto 109. Yeah. They use them for life flights too. Yeah, helicopters are crazy expensive. I did traffic reports for a couple of years with a guy in the AAA jet copter in Detroit. Pat Monks was his name. I didn't talk. Basically, I just rode around a couple of years, but it was fun. It was in the Hughes 500C. You may be able to find some old video someplace. The AAA jet copter, and then it switched sponsors. It was the Stroh's jet copter 760, the beer company, Stroh's beer. Yeah, I had some good times doing that, man. Flew all over the place in that thing. Got all my clients ride on it. Got all my relatives, friends. It's a 3-hour ride in the evening and a 2-hour ride in the morning. And then I flew around that Augusta 109 like maybe 4 hours. And that's about it. But anywhere I go, if they're giving helicopter rides, I take one. Oh, you know she's brainwashed, Susan. You better believe it. Oh, you know it. She can't help it. Seattle. Ann Arbor, Michigan's the same way. Good night, Tammy. Oh, no, they're super cool. It's not difficult at all. Different states have different requirements. When I got my license, you had to be 25, so I had to dick around for a couple years before I get it. But you could either have a degree in criminal justice, which I had, or you could work for a certain amount of period of time. I want to say it was 3 years for full time as a private detective to get the experience. Some states, I don't think you need any requirements, to tell you the truth. They just do a background. But Chicago is really hard. They've got a difficult test down there. Florida is hard now. They got a difficult test down there, but it's nothing like traditional licensure tests for other professions. I mean, you got to study, and they do have prep classes, but I think it's pretty easy. Yeah, Seattle sucks. I think in your state, I don't think it's that big a deal. Well, if you want to be one, I could hold a license for you. I could qualify for a license anywhere at this point. You know, a lot of places you can hold the license and somebody else owns the business. I know a lot of guys that did that. I've still got a license up Chicago in escrow, actually. I had a place contact me a couple years ago and wanted to know if I would hold their license. And it's like, nah, I just didn't feel like doing it. Yeah, no, Seattle, Washington. Yeah, you better believe it. Well, hopefully they'll see the light out there pretty soon. You know. Yeah, well, I'm telling you, being a PI is not easy. I mean, you got to market the work you go after. You don't just hand out business cards, you'll starve. The worst PIs are the ex-federal agents, ATF, FBI. The second worst are police officers. They're just terrible. Anytime somebody came into the market I was in that was retired law enforcement, it didn't worry me a bit. Those guys are absolutely terrible at what they do. Yeah, trucking sucks. Heavily regulated. Not that much money. Crazy traffic. Yeah. Yep. I mean, I keep thinking and get my PI license, and then I come to my senses. Let me tell you, yeah, I, you know, being the investigator part, the PI part is not that bad. It's getting the work is the hard part. Just there because they were used to going in with warrants and this huge infrastructure of support, and they just couldn't find their ass with both hands when they didn't have a badge or a police car or a warrant. They just their people skills were terrible. They couldn't threaten anybody. They're just terrible. They were absolutely the worst at surveillance. They were always getting caught, making stupid decisions, driving by the house too much. Yeah, you're right. What's that, Penny? Yeah, no, they were shitty. I'll tell you, the best PIs in the world. I mean, the success in being a PI is being able to get clients. Believe me, I was like a so-so PI. I mean, I found it like super boring. The best, you say all of a sudden you inherit a PI firm, you don't know shit about it, and all of a sudden 3 people quit because you're going to be the new owner. So you got to go out and interview people, and you don't know anything. So you're going to be getting these resumes in. You're going to be like, oh, FBI, it's mandatory retirement after 20 years, ATF, degree in criminal justice, experience, was a sergeant, a lieutenant. Those guys are not worth a fuck. Trust me. The guy you want is a fat fucker, virgin, slob, eats all day long, sits on his ass, totally out of shape, that can't believe that he's getting paid to sit in a van looking out a window for 8 hours. That's the good PI. He's lazy. He's never chomping at the bit. He's just sitting on his big fat ass looking out the window, not doing stupid shit, waiting for whoever it is to do something. Those are the best PIs for the kind of work I did. Surveillance, tons of surveillance. Yeah. Get there early. Don't be turning on the fucking vehicle, turning on the lights, hitting the horn accidentally. Just get there, shut off the lights, and wait. Do not get bored and run up to fucking Taco Bell. Yeah, stay your fat ass there. I'll buy the Twinkies. But it's not what you're thinking. 9 out of 10 times, we got paid the same whether we found out anything and we didn't. But of course, you're not going to be, getting people chomping at the bit if you're not coming up with good results. But it's the luck of the draw. There were times where I got huge accounts that I wouldn't have got if I'd have got the bad luck of the draw on 10 people that were legitimately injured that didn't go out and do anything because they couldn't. That happens. I mean, people think you're going out as a private detective trying to screw them out of their benefits. You're not. You're going out to substantiate the truth. If they're home 10 days and you never see them, they're probably disabled. If out of the 10 days you get 3.5 hours of video of them playing tennis, horseshoes, and building a pool in the backyard, they're full of shit. So either way, it's a timestamp on 10 days out of their life, and it's often much different than what they alleged in their complaint before they were awarded disability. Insurance is where the money's at, though. There's just not enough people around to pay for private detective work other than insurance companies, third-party administrators. Like some companies have enough money to fund their own claims, but they don't administrate them, so they hire a company to do it. Some are self-administered, self-funded, like General Motors, an example. Ford, they got their own internal work comp. They do their own investigations. They pay their own claims. They have their own in-house attorneys, that kind of thing. It's a certain type personality. I mean, I know 2 Catholic priests that took rides with police officers and quit a year later to become police officers and quit being priests. And that was after like 7 years before they got out of the seminary. So a lot of work, they hated being a priest. was way different than what they thought, dealing with the politics, the bullshit. And when they couldn't believe they were going to get paid as police officers. Now, that's before the whole world went crazy. But you don't really know what anything's like. I know people that have quit being airline pilots. They thought it was just so super boring. I know guys that have flying corporate jets for about half the pay of airline work because, airline work's fickle. You got to be around forever, a lot of furloughs before you get up and you're flying the good stuff where you're making the big bucks. But, 35 years of dealing with airport traffic gets old. Yeah, that's exactly right, Jerry. Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I catch a lot of them, yeah. But there are more and more companies. I noticed, like, when I got out of it, more and more companies are just calculating fraud into the premium, and they don't investigate anything. The federal government's the worst at it, Social Security fraud. They hire these low-end minority fucking PI agencies in these big cities that aren't worth a fuck. Let me tell you, I've tried all ways to do surveillance, and you have to have a self-contained vehicle, and you have to be able to stay stationary without the engine running. And I've seen these firms in these big liberal cities get these accounts for these minority PI firms. They're out there in some fucking car with the radio playing, no tinted glass, engine fucking running, parked right out in front of the house. They never find out anything. But it was a federal government contract. They didn't need to find out anything because they signed a 2-year contract. They just needed to turn in some bullshit video of the door opening and closing. Those are PI firms that get reputations. They get video, but it's always some bullshit. It's the door opening and the dogs outside. It's the door closing. It's the lights coming on. They got like an hour and a half of useless video. There's all sorts of agencies that do that because they're trying to justify, the $1,000 they paid you to be out there and you didn't find out jack shit. Yeah, timestamp, yeah. I testified to it under oath. Doesn't need a timestamp. Yeah. Here's how it goes in most PI cases. This is what happens. So now over the years, if you hire a plaintiff's attorney, let's say you get hurt at work, you finally decide to take the jump and go hire an attorney because you're not going back to work there. You think it's bullshit, your back hurts or whatever. And there are people that have legitimate injuries. Let me tell you, anybody I ever worked for, they were fine with that. It was the frauds that they weren't fine with. So you go, you get an attorney, he hires you, and the attorney sits you down and he said, hey, look, I'm going to tell you right now, your medical's okay, but it isn't a slam dunk. You have to have doctors' reports and x-rays and MRIs to substantiate your claims. If it's just soft tissue damage, you're going to get a nuisance settlement, 15, 20 grand to get lost. But when you've had fusions and all these kind of things, you have good medical, your lawyer is going to tell you, hey, look, now don't you be out there fucking around. They're going to have a PI out there and he's going to be doing you. So if you do anything out of the ordinary, let's say you have a good day and you're feeling good, and it's the first time you felt that in quite a while, and you give your 2-year-old grandson a horseback ride, first of all, you shouldn't be doing that. But if you do it, admit to it. In other words, when these insurance companies petition to court to get your benefits stopped, you know that they're going to have some guy like me that's going to come in there with a bunch of video disputing what you've claimed. So it's time to pony up and tell the truth. If you were out there and you had a good day, admit to it. So people don't do that. They don't listen to their own damn attorneys. So a lot of times we would get, let's say you get a restriction. You go and your doctor says that you can't lift over 5 pounds. You can't lift over 5 pounds. And they've been dragging this out. They go to the doctors. You get an independent medical exam. You got the insurance company's doctors. He's saying there's nothing wrong with this guy. His range of motion's good. I think he's bullshit. And the guy says his back hurts more than ever. So all of a sudden there's data there on specific type injuries and how long it takes to heal from them. So if you should have been healed based on the medical reports and your medical records in a year, and you're going on 2 years, they're going to put some money into proving you're full of shit. So they hire some guy like me. And when you look at what he got paid for a year, I don't know, 30, 40, $50,000. What is it paying me $500 or $7,500 to keep from paying another year? So my job is we get all the information and it says, hey, you're out there following John Smith and he's got a 5-pound weight restriction. So what I'm trying to do, I'm all set up. I've got a camera to follow him on me inside the grocery store. I've got a long distance camera to catch him shoveling snow. And I've got another camera from a medium distance if I have to get out and walk by the house. Whatever he does, snow shoveling's a big one. Even if it's pushing a snowblower, I've got equipment to do it. So you get out there early, all of a sudden he comes out and you get him doing some bullshit, nothing great. And then they get a tip that he's in a bowling league. And you go, you know what he looks like because you've watched him before. You know what he drives. So you go to the bowling place and here this guy is bowling. And you go in there with a shirt with a hidden camera and you just sit down and like observe. You know, they usually have seats back behind the alleys. I mean, I've gotten over the years, I had thousands of hours of people bowling. In a bowling ball, I don't know, what's it weigh, 12 pounds, something like that, 11 pounds, 13 pounds, some shit like that. Double what this guy was supposed to be lifting. So this is the way it works. So then they hire me. I come back. I show them my video. You show it. Hey, Conan, you show it. The claims examiner looks at it. They go over it with the attorney. It's like, yeah, we thought this guy was full of shit. So the insurance company petitions the Workers' Comp Bureau to cease benefits. Well, by the time that happens, they know that something's up. And the plaintiff's attorneys, if they've been practicing for any amount of time, know that this insurance company's got some shit on you, because the last thing you want to do as an insurance company is go in there and try and stop somebody's benefits when they didn't deserve it. The biggest thing insurance companies fear for is not dealing in good faith. So they're going to dot their I's and cross their T's. They go in, I've got my video, I get all the stuff chronicled. They've got duplicates, everything. The attorneys, we go into court and there's a hearing. Why do you want to terminate this guy's video? And this guy is there. This guy's benefits. It's like, well, we have Tom Reed here, you know, from Reed Detective Agency. He did surveillance on the 13th, the 19th. He did a total of 17 days of surveillance, and he's got 4 hours and 45 minutes, 2 hours of shoveling snow, an hour and 50 minutes of bowling. And we've also got another hour and a half of video of this person shopping and carrying grocery bags full of canned foods. All of this activity, this person claimed that they couldn't do, and everything was more than 5 pounds. You ought to see the looks on the faces of these people. I mean, they've threatened to kill me, everything. I've been sued after their benefits got cut off. And that's what happens. And you have to go through holy hell to get your benefits restored. Because when you're in a personal injury or workers' comp case, credibility is everything. And when you get caught lying under oath in front of a magistrate, you're in major trouble. Your credibility is shit, and nothing is going to go your way. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've caught tons of them, man. Bunches of them. Yeah. But I'd say overall, if you took 100 cases, I'd say 21% of the cases, we got stuff that would help them, that would prevail. So, you know, by and large, you know, you got a whole bunch of people that aren't hurt, but are very lazy, that don't bowl. Those are the problem children. And you got some that are always, I've gotten people, see, back in the day when I first started in PI work, we didn't put that much emphasis on getting activity. And the reason for that is because a lot of people would go out and get full-time jobs and nobody would know about them. We'd follow them to their new job. We caught people working all the time. And then as I was in the business longer, it kind of got where the economy started trailing off. Everybody wasn't paying good wages for new hires. And it turned into more like catching them out of their restrictions as opposed to getting them working another job. Like during COVID, that must have put out of business tons of PIs, especially if you were just starting. I mean, COVID must have absolutely killed surveillance. The guys I sold to in 92, they're still in business. But I know they've had some tough times. And I know COVID was one of them. Yeah. Yeah, but those glasses, a lot of those, all that like shit you see in like eBay and stuff, that stuff's not worth a fuck. All that like pinhole camera in your shirt pocket and stuff, it sucks. I mean, you got to get the upgraded good shit. And if you can't readily identify somebody in the video, it's not worth shit. Believe me, I've got tons of video. I couldn't help it that their face never turned my way. Hey, how you doing, Michael? Sometimes you're out there, they're doing all sorts of shit. They're chopping wood, their backs to you, they're bending over, it's them. So if you've got a good attorney working for the insurance company, he bluffs the plaintiff's attorney. It's like, look, we got your guy doing tons of shit. Now, if you admit to it, we'll work you a deal. But if you don't admit to it, well, then let's just go ahead and we'll get his benefits canceled. A good attorney, even if you've got shaky video where you couldn't identify the guy, but you knew it was him, a good attorney will bluff the other side into thinking that, hey, I'll show you the 40 minutes of bill. Well, that guy knows right now he's getting a third of whatever this guy's benefits are going to be if he prevails on a settlement or if it's a back to work petition hearing. So he doesn't want to be working for nothing either. And these plaintiffs' attorneys, they will sell out their client in a heartbeat. Their number one goal is that they get paid. So if it means the guy that they're representing getting less and making him buy into the bluff that they got from the insurance company's attorney, it's worth it. People get paid to do interviews. Yeah, I paid everybody. Yeah, that's right. Why did somebody say that I didn't? Yeah, it's a certain type personality to do PI work. It's not what you're thinking. It's not like guys that want to fight or they're going to kick your ass or they're looking for a confrontation. The guys that are really good at it are like Pee Wee Hermans. Non-confrontational. They know when to get in, when to get out, that kind of thing. Yeah, but most of that stuff that's marketed towards the public, when you're doing stuff for hire, you want good commercial equipment, like FBI quality stuff. For a long time, when I first got into PI work, you couldn't buy the good shit. They only sold it to law enforcement. You had to get on, put this stuff together yourself. I mean, I was paying $2,300 for hidden cameras that you could wear on a shirt back 35 years ago, which was a lot. No, you cannot. All communication goes between the attorneys. No, I've had it get weird there before where, they don't know you're a PI and they talk and they probably think you're a jerk, but no, you can't talk to them. Nope. No, it's unethical. You're not going to get charged with anything, but if they find out, it's looked on as very unfavorably. Now, I'm not saying that I never did it. You're also, what PIs do a lot, I did it too, and that is that, say I go out and you're working for somebody, right? And you go there and there's a couple cars in the driveway and they run the plates and the plate isn't to them. Now it's harder now than it was when I was doing it, because when I first got into it, nobody really had cell phones. So now you can have a cell phone. That fucker could be in Tahiti and you're out in front of his house in Toledo, Ohio. I mean, it's got to be another angle. So we would run package scams all the time. I'd call up and say, hey, Mr. Mixed Gas, how you doing? This is Jim Davis from Federal Express. We have a package. We've left you a couple notices, and it's going to go back. Would there be somebody there for a signature? He said, well, I haven't got any notices. What I always tried to do is get them upset right out of the chute. It's like, well, I haven't got any notices. Like, well, there are 2 are left. Is your address this? Yes, it is. Are you Virginia Woolf? Yes, I am. Is this your address? Yes, it is. Well, when would be a good time for the delivery to me? He said, well, I'm going to be leaving around 2 today. Bingo. Now you're going to be out there at fucking 2 and see where this motherfucker's going. It's like, well, if today's a bad day, how about tomorrow? I'll be home all day tomorrow. So now you had a piece of cake surveillance day Wednesday because he wasn't going anywhere. And if he was, he'd think twice about it because he was waiting for a package that was a hoax. So believe me, I used every trick in the book as a PI. Pizzas delivered, deliveries. No, it's not. I didn't do some of these package delivery companies any favors, believe me. Restaurant surveys, that kind of deal. I can tell you one of my big secrets. I'll tell you what I used to do. For a while there, I would, there's subrogation. So taking a no-fault state, you would have, in the old days, if you got hit by an uninsured driver, that was a problem. Well, when no fault happened, your insurance companies paid you and their insurance companies paid them. And then they'd go to fight and subrogate, which meant that if Penny runs into me, my insurance company pays me, then they sue her insurance company later and to try to get some of the money they paid out to me back from her. And part of the subrogation is to try to get some of the money from the insured, the person that caused the accident. So what I would do is they were always trying to get me to do subrogation work, and they didn't want to pay anything. Like, will you do a flat rate fee of $100 to do a subrogation investigation? Well, anybody that finally gets to where you're looking at them to try and collect money of, and they've done a deadbeat, they didn't show up for court, there's default judgment, it's just a shit person. I mean, the odds of getting money out of them are pretty low. So I kept telling them, no, I'm not going to fuck around for, $100. So then what I did is, believe it or not, I thought this coming back on an airplane one time. Because when you subrogate, you try to attach a lien and get these assets wherever you can, whether it's a lien on a house, but who cares? You don't get paid on that until they sell it, which may be forever. Lien on cars, most of the time they're financed. That's not that great. So what you're really looking for is bank accounts, to garnish bank accounts. So I was thinking one time coming back on a airplane ride that I would set up a fictitious company and that I would say sweepstakes winner, and I would give them $150 deposit only. $150 deposit only. That meant they had to deposit that in their checking or savings account, one or the other. So I tried a couple dry runs. I said, well, I'm just thinking about getting into this. Let me do it. I contacted these people. It's like, hey, it's sweepstakes winner. I used a couple of them. Sweepstakes. Sometimes I represented myself as being a company that paid overpayments from insurance companies that were no longer around, hospital bills where they paid too much, some kind of shit to where the money was going to be liquidated unless we found the person it was owed to, that kind of steal. And I did it under different kinds of names. So what I did is I finally went to the insurance companies and I said, hey, look, I will go out and subrogate on claims for you, but I only want claims that are in the thousands of dollars, that if there's not at least $5,000 there to go after, I don't want to fuck with it. And my fee is going to be $750 if I get you $5,000 or more. And it's free if I don't get anything. Fuck, man, for about 15 fucking years, I sent these people checks for $150 deposit only, waited a month, and then wrote a report after checking the balance, because you can check the balance to see if it's going to clear. They won't tell you how much is in there. Once they had $5,000 in a savings or a checking, I turned my report in and they garnished their account. And those fuckers wondered, how in the hell did they ever know that I had a savings or checking account? Because you cashed that sweepstakes. Hey, Edward, you cashed that sweepstakes bullshit $150 check I sent you. So I was basically clearing $600 on about 5 minutes work, hundreds of them. It's a fucking racket, man. Yeah. There's all sorts of angles like that to work as a PI. Checking garbage. I busted so many people with it throwing out shit in their garbage. Phone bills. You get a hold of a phone bill. You know who they were calling. Then you call them like there was some fraud going on. You were from a telephone company in another state. Like, have you ever heard of this person? Yeah, I know them. Well, yeah, I know you know them. I found your old phone bill in the trash. And then I jacked them off for, and believe me, some people thought it was suspicious. Like, I don't believe this. It's like, well, okay, well, fuck you then, man. When they didn't believe me, there was no sense talking anymore. But most people are stupid. You get them upset right out of the chute. Package delivery worked the best. I did every trick in the book. So was that a violation? Yeah, it kind of was, because I was talking to them and I wasn't supposed to. You justify everything for the right reason. Believe me, you would not have wanted to know me as a PI for my first 10 years. Yeah. I used to, I would set up these fake companies. I got it someplace. I don't know if I still have it in the file or not. They used to have a thing in the Detroit News. It was called Contact 10. And what it was is when you got fucked around or you thought you were getting scammed or some kind of shit, you would contact this big Detroit newspaper and you'd tell them your problem. And then they'd investigate it. Well, I'd set up phony everything. I'd set up phony. You could get remote voice mails at places. I'd pay with a money order. The place that I got them from didn't even know who I was. They got a money order. They didn't give a fuck. You'd pay them a year in advance. You'd have a code number. And I would call these people and just offer all sorts of crazy shit. Whatever it took. An evaluation at a restaurant, I'm going to be $200 cash. And plus pay for your dinner if you go and you give me a review of this restaurant. We only do this to certain people, this kind of, whatever kind of bullshit I had to. And sure enough, they'd get the money in the mail. Once they got that $200 cash in an envelope, they knew this shit was fucking real. I could have them go out there doing dog tricks. So I would always leave them on the hook, and they'd go out and evaluate a restaurant. And I was, you learn everything about them. You're giving them $200 cash. You're paying for their food, and they don't know that they're not going to get a couple of these a month. So you always got them on the string. And during the course of that, once you get them to buy in on the first one, it's being legit and it's not a scam. You know everything about these fuckers. They tell you where they're going, where they've been, everything. Well, once in a while, after, the fucking final curtain dropped, these people were probably sitting around thought, I wonder who that motherfucker really was. You know what I mean? So what happened is if this newspaper got enough complaints about some motherfucker like me, they would do a segment on me. And it was funny as hell. They had it on TV, and they also ran a segment in the newspaper. And it went into the whole spiel what I just told you. We've had this motherfucker do this. He sent us $200 cash. They had it on TV. So the newspaper guy on the TV part, he's going around to all these phony fucking addresses that I had listed looking for this fake name, me. He's going to where he thinks the phone number is registered to. They're saying it's a remote calling. We have thousands of customers. Unless we have a subpoena, we're not telling you shit. And they wrote up this big article about me. And they did a TV thing, and they did one in the newspaper too. And they contacted the postal authorities. Well, I already knew what the postal rules were. And that was, unless you call someone up and send them something, you're committing fraud. Like if I say, hey, Virginia Woolf, you send me $50 and I'm going to send you $200 to evaluate a restaurant. That's fraud because that's false and I'm charging you. But when I'm not trying to get any money from you and I'm only giving money to you, that's no crime. Now, it's true. It does make a lot of people look bad, but I'm a private detective. The name of the game is for me to find out whatever I can, any way I can, and I did it. And it pisses off a lot of people, but you're running around to these empty buildings. When I was in Chicago, I used the Sears Tower, did the same shit. I had a big law firm call me from the Sears Tower and leave messages on a remote phone number. It's like, hey, you motherfucker, we don't know who you are. But, we got people coming down here all the time. They want to know, if you're here, it's a fake name. That's why I know what it's about. And we wish you quit using our address. Please quit doing it. We will sue your fucking ass. That's why some of these trolls you'll get on YouTube, what they'll do is, and that's how these catfish women do it too. They'll get on these dating sites and they'll go take a real profile, like say Virginia Woolf. So it's like, yeah, I'm Jeff. I work at a factory. I'm happily married. I got YouTube videos. I'm representing myself at you. And I'm just whatever kind of scam I'm running, and I'll say, screwing some girl on the side, what the hell ever it is, right? So the first thing she does is she goes to the internet and she looks up your shit and she looks up your channel and she thinks that she's talking to you, but she's talking to me. I mean, this does not take a smart person. And as you do it, you find out things accidentally. You'll have people divulging things that never occurred to you. So a lot of the scams that I ran, I found out by people bringing them to my attention that I'd never thought about before. And I thought, God damn, I never thought of that, and I'd start using that the next time. So by the time you've got 20 years of scamming under your belt, working as a PI, you get pretty damn good at it. You know what people bite on. Like I said, one of my biggest tricks was getting you upset right out of the chute. I call up Conan. It's like, hey, Miss Conan Dev, we've left you 3 notices, and this is going to get shipped back to the sender. It's like, well, what is it? It's like, well, I don't know what it is. We're not allowed to open them. Well, who's it from? Well, I can't tell you that either, but I can tell you that it is addressed to you, and this is your address, and you confirm it. And then I get you talking and try and get whatever I can about, and I'll find a day of the week that I want to keep you home. In other words, I don't want you being gone by the time I get there. So I'll say, well, how about, what'd be a good day for you? It's like, well, Tuesday I'm going to the dentist. Well, okay, I'll be out there Tuesday then. I want to see you going to the dentist. Wednesday I got a hair appointment. I'll be there too. And Thursday I'm going to be home all day. Yeah, that'll be an easy day because I know you're not going anywhere. So it's all this constant shell and pea game of setting things up and scamming people on the phone. And this is before, you can get these things now like these Indian scammers do to make anything you want to come up on a caller ID. Fuck, if I'd have had that back then, I'd have really, really kicked ass. Yeah. I'd always tell them that because my number was always blocked if I was calling from a cell phone. And they'd say, well, how come it's private number? And it's like, well, my baby's sick today. I don't even have a fucking baby. And I had to stay home, and it's my personal number. I'm not in the office. I'd fucking, believe me, I had no shortage of coming up with excuses. Great, man. I'm not kidding you. Oh, catfish. Oh, yeah, they'll do it, man. You represent yourself as someone that's actually around. So if you're going on dating sites, Match.com, it's like, yeah, I'm fucking Tom Reed. I had a Learjet, I got all this cool shit. I own businesses here and there. You find some fucker that's really hard to, he owns a lot of shit. And before you've went through the list of about 10 things that you verified, you're going to quit looking. You're going to think this is that person. So I say, hey, Pug, my name's Tom Reed. I got a Learjet. I own this paper company in Georgia. Got all these cars, Porsches, Teslas, shit like this. My name's Marty. How about I come into town and bang the hell out of you Saturday? It's like, oh, I don't know. That sounds awfully forward. It's like, yeah. And then you go to the internet. It's like, wow, he does have Porsches and shit. And he does own this big paper company. He's got all this property. And what are you going to ask me for my license when I show up? You're going to show me my license? No, you're going to think I'm Marty. I bang your lights out because I was just with what you were looking for. I mean, this is a stretched example, but you know what I'm saying. You can do this shit, man. I did it to gain information. You know what I mean? But that's what these catfish people, and that's what a lot of these YouTube people do too. And that's what some of these big stalkers on YouTube do. They represent themselves as being people that were successful at one time, and they weren't. Tiffany Mosier's a perfect example. Tiffany's actually not stupid and well-spoken. And if she wasn't nuts, I think she could have had a really good career. But she represents herself as somebody else that was in a place that went up and set like displays for national meetings for like Sony, American Airlines, that kind of thing. She never did any of that. Somebody else did. And she represents herself as that person. It's very common. Yeah. Very common. They do it a lot. But in this stage, it works both ways too. So, if you're on this online dating and all this shit, it doesn't take very long if you're experienced to figure out if it's legit or not. It's whether it's legit or not. Yeah, I won't mention any names, but I'll give you a perfect example. There was somebody that you guys know last night that had an open chat on a so-called singer. Total made up bullshit. Not true. Just fucking mentally ill delusions create these fucking experiences that never occurred. Just nuts. I never saw that show. I don't even have TV, to tell you the truth. But being PI work it's not how it's sold on TV shows and books and all that kind of stuff. And I've had fucking books written about me too, think that I'm just a big fucking scammer. There was a famous professor that was murdered up in Flint, Michigan, Margaret Eby. There's a guy that wrote a book about her getting murdered. That motherfucker took a whole page describe him on what a shit bag he thought I was. Fucking cocksucker. I ran into that motherfucker up in one of my sister's McDonald's and shut his ass up. It's all made up bullshit. He said that I was expensive, which was true, and that the sister of the lady that was murdered didn't like me. Well, yeah, she didn't like me. I'll tell you why she didn't. Because I didn't want to deal with her. She was a lady that didn't get accepted to the University of Michigan Law School and had to go to Indiana and was mad ever since. I dealt with one family member, and that was the brother the whole time. Now, if the brother would have said that, I'd have been upset. And when I read it in the book, I called the brother. It's like, what the fuck is this? And he said, I don't pay any attention to that. It's like, that's just her. Yeah. I'll find it. I got a copy of the goddamn thing. I don't know if it's Michigan Murders or I'll find it for you. He used to be a writer for the Detroit Free Press or the News. And I know the publisher canceled 2 more books that he was under contract writing for them. But it was all fucking made up bullshit. It wasn't true. And I got sued by a judge one time. You can look that up too. It's Ravary versus Reed. It's on Google. Ravary versus Reed, me. Reed. So get this. We were talking about workers' comp investigations. Well, in Michigan, if you were an employer or an insurance company or a TPA or self-insured, the worst fucking thing you could have happen to you is an open award. And what an open award meant was lifetime benefits and medical till the day you died. That is what you did not want. Somebody got an open award. It was like a never-ending checkbook. Now, some were legit, like these quadriplegics and shit that fell off scaffolding and stuff, but some of them were not. And I was hired by an insurance company to try to catch a judge hobnobbing with a plaintiff's personal injury firm and hanging around with these guys, these lawyers, outside of work, which I did. I followed that motherfucker all over. I spent 3 weeks in Florida. I got about 150 hours of film of him drinking and going to titty bars and shit with this law firm that he kept granting these open awards to for his clients. There were just too many of them. It was disproportionate. Well, here's where I fucked up. Not really, because I didn't do anything wrong. But I got all this great shit, so I figured I'd put the cherry on the top. So I happened to be friends with a professor of mine in college. And I was a shitty-ass fucking student. He was a crazy motherfucker. But we hung around outside of class. And he was a lawyer. Their name was Horton and Rogo. They were in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I did shit for them. We were always like getting a fight. I'd do work for him again, get in a fight. I'd sue him for an unpaid bill, that kind of shit. It was always that way. But the good times were good. So anyway, I needed a commercial address to have my PI license come to. And I said, hey, can I use your law firm address? He said, yeah, sure, go ahead, no problem. So I'm using their law firm address as my PI firm. Well, this fucking judge, I applied through the Freedom of Information Act request, which is a public record request that's totally legal. And I wanted to know about his reprimands, if he'd ever been suspended. Were there any grievances against him? Did he ever show favoritism? I wanted all the shit they had on this fucker to put the cherry on the top to the shit that I already had. Somehow he finds out through the Michigan Department of Labor that this Tom Reed, private detective guy, files this Freedom of Information Act request. He gets a hold of it, goes to the fucking address, and the address is to these attorneys in Ann Arbor, Michigan. This shows you what a small world it is. His son was doing part-time legal work for them, which I didn't know because I was never there. So I get a call one day, and it's Mark Rogo, and he says, hey, what the fuck are you doing with this Judge Ravery? It's like, what are you talking about? He said, his son works here. I said, no, I didn't know that. He said, what are you doing with Judge? I said, what do you know about Judge Ravery? He said, well, his son's working here, and you sent a Freedom of Act request, and you used this address. I said, well, you said that I could use it. He said, you could, but now this fucker's all pissed at us. He thinks that we have something to do with it. I said, well, it doesn't. It's like, fuck him, man. Well, that was the end of me using that address. And shortly after I got sued by the judge. And the law firm that he hired had just sent me a letter telling me what a great PI I was. Not that changed anything, but I know he got this law firm to represent him for free. John Foston was the plaintiff's attorney. So I get sued, and they make up all this bullshit unrelated to the surveillance that you couldn't dispute, that it was a campaign from political origins to make him look like a bad guy, that he had done something wrong. It was to terminate his employment, just all this made up shit that had nothing to do with anything, right? But, you can file lawsuits on that. So it gets sued, it gets filed in Wayne County, Liberalville, right? And I had a judge named Susan Borman. So it comes down to the point where this is a unique lawsuit because privilege really wasn't used for private detectives. And basically, this judge said that I had to divulge the name of the source, the company that hired me. It's like, I'm not doing that. And it's like, well, either do it or I'm going to jail you. It's like, well, fuck, jail me then. I don't care. And, it really wasn't me worrying about my PI business. I'm just kind of like that, like this. I'm just that's kind of like my personality. I mean, unrelated to PI work. No, I made an agreement with somebody and fuck it, man. If I have to go to jail, I will. And besides, back then, they couldn't even have fucking places for people that committed murders and shit. I wasn't too worried about it. So we go through this hearing. I get fucking sued. And it goes through 2 or 3 hearings. It finally comes down to where you got to report to jail Monday. It's like, I ain't fucking doing it. He said, well, they'll issue a warrant, civil contempt. It's like, go ahead, fucking do it. So by this time, you have to have errors and omissions insurance policy, and you have to indemnify the people you work with. So when you get sued, it covers me and it covers the company that hired you, even though they don't know who that is. Well, I was friends with the insurance company that insured me, and I knew the claims examiner. And Ralph Kozak was his name. So he said, we're going to get you a really good appeals attorney, try and get a stay. John Jacobs, he just died about 1.5 years ago. So John Jacobs ends up representing me. He gets an emergency stay, which meant they couldn't jail me, and the case would be heard in the Michigan Court of Appeals, which ended up overturned. I beat the case. It was $55,000, and that was back in 1986, I think. But my insurance company paid it, not me, and my premiums didn't go up. So it was a win-win, and it was new case law granting limited privilege to a private detective, me. So I did have my brushes with getting in different kinds of trouble. I was sued a couple times from people that said that I falsified reports and, I didn't falsify. I said, well, why would I falsify the report when I got 1.5 hours on video of you doing shit you said you couldn't do? I've had them call me up at home and get a hold of me, and they're going to kick my ass if they ever saw me and that kind of shit. Believe me, I went through a lot of bullshit. When you're banking on not working again, and some prick like me shows up with a couple hours of film, we are not probably going to get along. I've had hassles with cops too doing surveillance. They really have no jurisdiction. I've had them come up and tell me to get out of the area. It's like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. You have no authority to make me leave. It's like, well, I'll get you towed. I said, but you get me towed, you're going to get your ass sued, motherfucker. I've really got into it with cops. Yeah, I have, but not that much. Not that much in the whole scheme of things. But I've had all sorts of crazy shit happen. Twice I've been doing surveillance and people tried to break into the van and steal it. They thought it was empty. And of all those years of doing surveillance, I never saw a crime occurred. You would have thought in bad neighborhoods and shit or graffiti, there's none of that shit. I would see couples argue once in a while. And I saw all sorts of shit. People like looking around, opening doors on cars that weren't locked, getting changed, but nothing really good like you would think. And I was really literally thousands of hours because we were always behind in surveillance. And I absolutely hated doing it. So for me to be out there doing that, we had to be behind. People call up, start complaining. Why is it taking so long? That kind of shit. PI work is very competitive, super competitive. I mean, there's usually, they say 1 out of 10,000 PIs makes a living in it. And I think that's probably true. Oh, it's mostly common sense though, They hire you and you try and put it in their ass. Sure do. Yeah. And I did the husband and wife thing. I caught a bunch of those too. I didn't do that very much though, because they couldn't afford you really. I mean, we were charging insurance companies $1,000 a day 35 years ago. And, you tell some wife that, you want 1,000 up front to watch your husband. Fuck, it could be 6 weeks before he bangs his girlfriend. He may not be even banging her. In those kind of cases, you want to get paid up front. You do. Because insurance companies, even though you don't get them on film like you'd like to, that's where you get your reputation established. There's something to be said for being out there a whole week and they didn't leave the house. So it isn't totally worthless. It makes them have an informed decision on the case, the reserves. Yeah, people think they won't get caught. That's true. And then towards the end in Chicago, I used GPSs. Those work great in a big city like that. Fuck, just sleep in, man. See where they drove to work or wherever. I've put GPSs. I've put GPSs on cars before and looked at them 16 hours later, and the motherfucker was 900 miles away from where I stuck it on. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Well, there's different places on that. The police have to get a warrant for a GPS unit. I've heard of civil lawsuits, catching PIs putting tracking devices on people's cars, invasion of privacy. There's some risk to it. There is. I'll tell you a case I knew of one time. I knew a couple of PI. I didn't know these guys. They were competitors actually, but I knew the case. So these guys, when you're back then, we used like good Canon XL1, I think it was, the big giant thing. But in the van, it didn't really matter, and we'd have them on tripods. But as good as the cameras were back then, there really wasn't any good audio mute. So what you did when you burned a copy of the surveillance tape, you unhooked the audio. You didn't want the fucking audio. It doesn't mean shit anyway, and you don't want them, them hearing you talking about pussy or titty bars or any of that kind of shit. I mean, no good comes out of them hearing your conversation. So anyway, they do this 2-man surveillance, which I hardly ever did because I didn't want to be with somebody that much. But once in a while, you'll get it. One guy to drive, one guy to film. It would be handy sometimes, but it just wasn't practical. So anyway, these 2 guys are doing surveillance on this lady. She comes out. They end up getting a bunch of good film on her, raking leaves, some shit like that. So in the course of doing the surveillance, these 2 guys are talking. It's like, look at the ass on her. Boy, I'd like to put it to her. I bet I'd like to bend her over like that. Guy talk, right? But, they don't plan on anybody hearing this but them. It's just guy talk. Look at her. Hey, air cold. Look at her stretching over there. Like, she wonders if she could stretch on my cock, that kind of shit. And nobody thinks anything of it. They get a bunch of good video. They go back to the office. And a lot of times what will happen is the plaintiff's attorney wants a copy of the surveillance tapes through discovery. Now, some states, they don't allow this. Others, they do. And this was in Michigan, so it was okay to do. They end up fucking burning a DVD, copy on a DVD, right? And didn't mute the audio. The fucking girl at the detective agency where the guys were working provides a copy. It gets in the hands of the plaintiff's attorney. The plaintiff's attorney plays it, representing the girl that they surveilled. And he puts it in probably a fucking DVD player on a TV screen in his office. And all of a sudden he hears him saying, what an ass, look at her bending over, but she'd like a big cock, this kind of shit. So he's a fucking plaintiff's attorney, right? This son of a bitch is going to think every fucking reason in the world to jack the came up. He gets the girl to come in and said, hey, look, I just wanted to let you know. It's like, look at these guys saying this shit about you, bending over. They go get some fucking Jew psychiatrist. And she claims that now not only is her back fucked up, but she's afraid to leave the house anymore because whenever she sees a van, she thinks it's two guys wanting to rape her. This is what they file another lawsuit. So this whole thing, same goddamn jurisdiction where they got me, Wayne County, Michigan, liberal fucking angry people that hate insurance companies. So every insurance company is scared to death of getting it stuck up their ass. So this thing goes through the whole fucking thing, right? They're suing for like $3 million. This lady's like, can't have an orgasm. The fucking whole kitchen sink full of shit, right? It goes to mediation, right? It mediates for $750,000 fucking dollars. You ready for this? They paid it. The fucking insurance company paid it. They paid it. They paid that claim. They did not want to roll the dice in front of a bunch of hostile, pissed off, liberal jurors in Detroit, just like LA and Chicago and Seattle and everywhere else. They've probably gave them fucking $10 million. They paid that claim. And those guys, that was just guy talk. It wasn't literal, but that goes to show you. And from then on, man, when I found out about that, I had an attorney call me and said, you see what happened to these motherfuckers? It's like, yeah, damn. Glad it wasn't me. I had an attorney call me. And from then on, man, whenever we had to come up and supply a copy of a tape, you fucking double check that motherfucker. And you make sure that volume's all the way up on your damn TV. And you play it in there. And I don't want to hear a goddamn peep about anything. Because, you could get your ass roasted like for so much shit. Yeah, they paid it. It was all bullshit. Triple check. Absolutely right. Yeah. And I'll tell you, there's states too where they will roast your ass if you got here's the deal on third party. If you come in my office and let's say you and I are talking and I'm recording it, it's legal in a lot of states. It's one party consent. Only one person needs to be aware of the recording. That's me. Because I want to get you fucking lying on there, right? But some states don't allow that. Of course, liberal states like California, they don't even want you to be able to record a phone call on your phone. God forbid you catch somebody fucking lying. So what happens is usually the rule of thumb on that is before you can record somebody's conversation in a state where it's one party consent, you have to be a party to the conversation. If there's two people talking, and you're a party to the conversation, it's okay. If there's two people talking and you're not a party and you record them talking, that's eavesdropping. That's a major felony. There's a lot of laws like that. Open carry is another example. I know cops have told me before where they know that guys didn't have concealed weapon permits. They had open carries. And all is they're waiting for is to see that guy's coat go over the top of that gun for a half a second so they can charge him with carrying a concealed weapon. There's a lot of weird, sticky shit like that. International trade zones are like that too, I found out. Whether it's a railroad, freighters, a train, all sorts of shit. There's these vague nebulous gray areas that are deemed international trade zones. Nobody really fucking knows where they start, and nobody knows where they end. But when they want to fuck with you and they catch you back there, you're fucked. Oh, so yeah, you are fucking screwed. Pornography is like that. There's all sorts. Fireworks are like that. A lot of places you can make them, but you can't sell them. A lot of places you can sell them, but you can't make them. There's a lot of places you can make porn, but you can't retail it. Try and track down pornography laws. And the biggest thing everybody's afraid of on there is if it gets labeled obscene. I mean, you could probably make porn till your fucking dick fell off in Detroit and nobody do a thing about it, even though they're willing to bend over an insurance company every day. Now, you try and do that down here in this Bible Belt shit, do some bukkake videos or something, I'd probably get a fucking public hanging. Damn. I'd hate to think, even if they're watching them themselves late at night, I would hate to go on an obscenity charge anywhere around here making bukkake videos. I'm sure I would get a public hanging. I mean, that's just the persona down here of like, porn. You don't see any of these fucking places in these towns down here. It's a church on every corner. Yeah. International trade zone. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I bet it is. International trade zone. That means they can fuck you anytime for anything. Same with porn. What's porn, But the big one, obscenity. That's how they got Max Hardcore. Obscenity. And once they got obscene to stick, man, it's game over. Yeah. Entrapment. Yeah, I had a high school. I think these catch a predators fucking entrapment. I mean, I'm all against catching pedophiles, but it doesn't mean you ignore the law. You can't have it both ways. And here's the thing about that, right? I mean, look, man. I mean, I watch tons of porn, right? But I'm not into like kiddie porn or any of that shit. I think it's terrible. You shouldn't do it. Don't get me wrong on this. But I got a problem when you're on a chat board and you're an old pervert and you're thinking you're talking to an underage girl and it's entirely made up. It's a cop. It's a male. It's a fake. There's no real person. There's no real victim. If that is an entrapment, what is? There's no real victim. And the catcher predator thing was even one step worse. I mean, I enjoyed it. Hanson's a big prick. Those shows were canceled because they didn't win in civil lawsuits because it violated people's due process, which I agree with. You may be a pervert. You're bringing pizzas. You're in your fucking Speedo. You think you're meeting a 13-year-old, super fucking creepy. I get that. But that doesn't mean that, you can just execute people from 50 yards away with a deer hunting rifle because you think what they did was wrong. I mean, there's due process. This is a big deal. This is the foundation of everything. I got a little bit of a problem with made up victims. Yeah. It's nuts. But they got their ass handed to them on lawsuits, which it was mainly because of that gay pedophile judge's sister. He was thinking he was going to suck a couple young dicks. And it turned out to be undercover cops. And when they went to serve the warrant on him, they heard a gunshot. And, she claimed it was one big misunderstanding. Well, I don't think so. But they did prevail in a lawsuit. I'll tell you another interesting thing happened. A little town, I came from Flat Rock. There were two towns near me, Rockwood and South Rockwood. So there's a guy that's a police chief over. I didn't know him, but I know people that did. And he always lived with his mom. I didn't know him, as I said, but just because you live with your mom, you don't date women doesn't mean you're gay. But this guy on duty, fucking around Craigslist, out looking for some young dick. He's going to the personal section or whatever it is. Before you know it, he makes an agreement to meet these underage teenagers out not too far from the police station for blowjobs. And well, what the teenagers were planning on was robbing somebody. They didn't care why they were getting together with anybody because nothing was going to happen other than them knocking you over the head with a baseball bat and taking your wallet. So that's what they were thinking. They end up meeting, and there's an argument about how much money is going to. Now, mind you, this is the chief of police in South Rockwood and Michigan. You can Google it. And, he's thinking he's getting some blowjobs by some underage kids for money. And they whip out the baseball bat and start going to town. He realizes he's getting robbed. So he pulls his service revolver out and shoots him. And then, the whole house of cards collapses. He ends up getting caught talking on a cell phone, talking to a subordinate or another law enforcement officer on what the fuck should I do. Ends up reporting it late because the guy he shot's down there bleeding on the ground. He waited like 10 minutes before he called an ambulance, probably hoping he was going to die, no witness. And the other guy took off. Long story short, they realized what it was. He ends up getting charged with willful misconduct during the course of a law enforcement shift or some shit like that. And but I just looked it up the other night for the hell of it. Those charges all got dismissed. And he's like Walters is his last name, Walters. He's doing some kind of legal consulting now. The charges ended up getting dismissed for some kind of reason. No titty bars. I never go to them anymore. So, it's just, there's their story, your story, and the truth. Look at some of these crime shows. I mean, that's why you're stuck watching them. It's because you just can't believe that it happened that way. Weird, man. And I think it gets worse as you get older. I think it does. Can't believe anything. You're young, you're naive. Those are the fun old days. Yeah. Yep. No, it never really got to that from what I read. But that was the idea. Michael Walters, I think his name was. Yep. Note to self. Don't do that on duty. He got out of it, though. I just looked it up. Now, I'm from Flat Rock, and I knew most of the cops. My mother was on the council. I was planning on being a cop. Rode around with them all the time in the patrol car. And Charlie Sanders, good guy. He was the cop that showed up when my brother-in-law was shot with a .22 and died. He said he never forget. He rolled him over and had just a little spot of blood right above his heart. But Charlie was a good guy, and he had a son, Chip. I never really knew Chip. He was always real young when I knew him. And Charlie had been divorced a couple times. He married a girl out of my class, like 25 years younger. Anyway, they got a new chief in Flat Rock. And this Charlie's kid, Chip, and this other guy that worked for the Brownstown Township sanitation, they were doing football betting pools. And they were going around and taking money and this kind of thing. And the new chief warned them was, hey, this is a form of gambling. I want you guys to quit doing this. And they said, fuck you. We've been doing it for 20 years and everybody knows what it is. It's not really gambling anyway. The FBI got involved in that and they charged them both. Both lost their jobs. Now, Charlie, the dad, had died, which I'm glad for because he'd have been so embarrassed with Chip. But you don't need to be too smart to realize that's a form of gambling. And God, when you're warned and they tell you to quit doing it and you keep doing it, crazy. I think it's really nuts. Form of gambling. They bust places around all the time for, bingo's a form of gambling, but they get permits for it. I know two after-hours bars that have slot machines in Michigan. Totally illegal. Old Uncle Sam, they want the tax revenue from that. They don't mind selling you lottery tickets where you'll never win, but God forbid you have one in a blind pig. I know a guy that worked at that place with that slum landlord that owns that Southwest Community Hospital. Dennis something. He's a Greek guy. He owns that big Russell Center in Detroit. I know a security guard there, and they have a big medicinal marijuana thing, but 95% of their sales are sold out the back door illegally. So when the state or the city, whoever it is, comes in for an inspection, they give them a 3-day notice. They hire full-size semi-trucks to move out all the plants and shit they got that they're not supposed to have. They come in and do the inspection, and they move them back in a day later. It's typical Detroit. That's where they have those after-hours parties with a big barbed wire locked gate, underage teens, all sorts of dope, booze. They spread it around on Facebook. Yeah, it's true. Back when I first started interviewing Becky at that dentist's office next to like where she slept, whippet parties, all night whippet parties, nitrous oxide. Yeah. World's nuts. Blind pigs. You know, another thing, not that you don't know about it already, but when you get down, you're like in the city and you're like on the streets and you're talking to people like I was doing for a while, you realize how prevalent dope is. I mean, like crazy. I mean, it's just everywhere on every street, every corner. Everybody gets it. Everybody's selling it. Everybody's high. It's just nuts. Rave, yeah. Yeah, rave, yep. I didn't even know what it was, whippet. There were 2 times I was down there interviewing Becky in the summertime, and there was a place where they'd go and they'd sit and get high and watch the cars go by in 94. Twice I go back there and had to step over people fucking in the weeds. Like it was nothing, man. You get so numb to everything down there. It's ridiculous. I was driving through an alley one day, cutting through, doing photography, and all of a sudden a window came down in the pickup. Raven stuck her head out and said, "Hi, Tom. How you doing?" Rolled the window back up, kept on giving a blowjob. Yeah, that's what they put it in balloons. Nuts. I know a guy down there that just had every gun you could imagine, automatic. He was sleeping there one night. Somebody drove by and shot like 20 rounds through the side of the building he lived on. Nobody got hit. Just crazy shit like that all the time. If you're down there and you're around a lot, you really wonder like what the deal is with this drugs thing. I say they only bust the obvious. I mean, you look at airplanes, what used to be able to take on planes, you're not now. They could do the same thing with drugs. There's an argument it's a big part of the economy. Jail, probation, rehab, EMTs, police. Keeps a lot of people employed if you dried up the drug problem. Courts. I think that rehab's the biggest scam of them all. World's nuts. We used to go over to Windsor all the time. It was so fun. Yeah. Yep. You can buy a gun anywhere down there. I mean, I couldn't now, but back then I could. Yes. I don't know if it's the same. 28 degrees now. It warmed up a little. Goldfish. I don't know why these cameras look so fuzzy. I guess bad light. Anyway, you guys think up some reasons to have different chats. Try to, will you? Oh, 40, that's not bad. I think Sunday's our last cold day. Like crazy cold. Oh, compelling tongue. Oh, I wish I could do one. Yeah, I never fooled with drugs. I never smoked marijuana. I didn't even start drinking until I was older. I mean, I had a few beers like at 18, 19, but not much, but not like drinking to. I haven't had a drink now since April. I gave up my dating quest too. I think I'm fucking screwed on that. It doesn't really bother me too much though. I got most of my books. Store. See those ones and those things? And the bedrooms are filled too. You see them? Yeah, two's about it. What'd you think of those? What'd you think of those? Did you like them? Did you think it was good beer? Mentally ill, man. That's what it is. I had to do all I could to keep from going and buying some books today. Oh, you'd love it if you like a good beer. Yeah, it's good. I think it's great beer. Yeah, I do. Not big, not very big though. I'm going to be giving some books away too. I'll let you guys know. I'll mail them to you. I got duplicates of some that I'm not going to read anymore. If you're working on your pilot's license or something. Oh, that chosen one community? Well, first of all, I can tell you this about this thing. I mean, the whole thing started with just a genuine interest of blight in Detroit. And I had thought about interviewing prostitutes way before I did it. So it started there. And, for a long time, I had like 100 subscribers. I did want people to watch my channel. So like coming on like here, if it wasn't for you guys, that's why I've always made sure everybody was a part of the channel. And I run things by people before I just do them because, I do not want to just be some lucky dick that had a channel take off. Like, I've got something you don't. It's not that at all. It was the people that I interviewed, and I'm well aware of that. And if it wasn't for people on here, we'd have like nothing to do. So I run things by people, and I even have people check me sometimes. Hey, honeybee, how you do? I mean, I just got lucky, I guess, and even that's kind of got an asterisk near it. So, I'm down there. Those videos were around a long time, and nobody watched them. But if you looked at my channel from the very beginning, it's no different now than it was back then. I've always kind of done the same thing: videos, photography, that kind of thing. The prostitute thing happened by example. Then some videos took off viral. And like it or not, I can tell you this is what happens. Here's a perfect example. Those women down there that were prostitutes had been there for years. People would shoot them with BB guns, dump drinks on them, threaten to run them over, spit on them, fuck with them constantly. No respect. So then I just go down there, I start interviewing them, and all of a sudden the same people that everybody dumped on forever wants to send them food, give them money, help them pay their rent, get a hairdo, whatever. And it all is predicated on this false bullshit of what's considered a respected medium, like YouTube. You know, everybody thinks if you've got subscribers, I mean, that's what the whole litmus test, where really it's the opposite. If you there is a relationship between subscribers and views, but views is where it's at. And I didn't have any views. If you look at 99.9% of my videos, there are no views. It's just, you know, bullshit that I like the vulture cam, that kind of thing. So this whole chosen one, it's this false sense of like, they think you're like a celebrity or something, and they like hate you because they wanted to do it. I really can't quite figure it out. I got lucky, they didn't. But just people came out of the woodwork wanting to be your friend and communicate with you right out of the chute. I mean, like I used to get like 5,000 emails a month, and I just didn't answer them. And they want to hang around with you, and they want you to like stop by them. And if they see you in places, and it got to the point in Detroit where I just got too recognized too much. I thought it was a real pain in the ass. So you just had a bunch of people that were trying to identify with something that they saw start out from the beginning. And they came up with this chosen one community, whatever that is. I mean, you could say that about anything. And the crazies, I can't think of anything other than they were jealous. That they made up these false stories that I was murdering them and exploiting them and all this stuff that just was not true. And if you looked, I mean, you can still look. It isn't as bad now as it was back in the day. But they're always putting my name in the title. They're so desperate because I guess they just wanted to have a channel with a lot of subscribers and were pissed that I did and they did. And I can't think of anything else. And if you look at how cruel people are towards like Maddie and just everybody out there, the way they treat them, it's just weird. I will tell you this, like, it's just, there's a lot of super weird people on YouTube. And, you know, for every good person that, you know, has the best intentions and the best hope for the people that I interviewed, there's 5 of them out there that want to tell people where they live and take close-up pictures of their teeth and just super strange, weird behavior. And then they want to make videos and they want to make a channel predicated on that. I just find it like super strange. Yeah, Mexican getting swatted. Yeah, sure do. Yeah. They'll call the police. Yeah, sure do. Yeah. Yeah, right. Yep. That kind of thing. It's just like you got a lot of hateful people that are just looking for an avenue to vent their rage, and they picked me for a while. Yeah, Tassie, yeah. Her boyfriend just called me the other day. I told him to fuck off. Really, these people will burn you out, man. They'll burn you out. I don't talk to any of them anymore. The only one that came out of there that, you know, I'm not necessarily saying that you got to go to rehab and never do dope to be a good person. Maddie's a good person. She's a drug addict that needs a wherewithal to get drugs. Simple as that. I can't believe she's hanging in there, but Maddie is a sweet person. But Sherry did well. She somehow got out of there and is married and working, and good for her. Tassie turned out to be just a degenerate dirtbag. I can't put it any nicer. But these people will drive you fucking nuts. They're not getting better. They're just not. And they'll suck you in with them. it just wears your ass out. If you're like a person that likes to see people do better, it will wear your ass out. It's one bullshit line after another. Yeah, rejected, then they get real crazy. I've had that happen a lot. Look, you guys, I think when I was younger, I mean, I tell it straight out like it is, man. I mean, I did okay with dating women, but it wasn't because of how I looked. And I know better than to think that something's going to happen on YouTube. If I was out shopping or getting pizzas, that place where I get pizzas had the cutest waitresses I've ever seen in my life. Well, now I'm old, right? And I don't think it would have been that much different when I was young. So I got a pretty good idea of what the real world's like. And you get a lot of these women on here that use like fake avatars, and they're just not success stories in any sense of the word. And they're weirdos. They're like, it's like worse than catfish. And this is what I think, and I can't really fault them for that. I think that they think when they see an old guy like me that's alone all the time, that it's easy pickings because they're used to this, and that's the culture, and that's the way they've been raised, and they just can't figure it out when I don't give them the time of day because I know they're nuts. Simple as that. I mean, I know this. Yeah, I just it's a lot of super strange, but they think you're going to be all over this, really chomping at the bit, and I'm not. Yes, yeah, it was. Matter of fact, my dad used to tell me about going to horror houses in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was always a big deal. I was getting blowjobs down there, not on Michigan Avenue, but in Cass Corridor. Look it up. They're two old horror houses. Willis Show Bar and Anderson's Gardens, a buddy of mine. All of us used to go down there, like 18, 19. We go down there and get blowjobs all the time. I spent a couple New Year's Eve there. We had a great time. They had an old dumpy hotel in back. I mean, it was just boys being boys. My dad encouraged it. Yeah, but it was all big time prostitution back there. It was called Cass Corridor. That's Midtown now. They cleaned that up. Yeah, I do take it with a grain of salt. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. But I will tell you this, Treehouse, and that is that it seems you would think that over the years, like I'm not opposed to it. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you would think that 95% of my friends don't even know I have a damn YouTube channel. I don't tell anybody about it. But you would think that over the years that I would have maybe met somebody that I would have hit it off with or dated for a while. Never, not once, not even close, barely. Now I have met women sometimes, for coffees and stuff, and I could see where it was going. It was like, once again, they think that they think I'm going to be all over it, and I'm just not. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I have people say that too. Well, they may say it on YouTube sometimes, but I'm telling you, this YouTube thing is not like reality. You know what I mean? I mean, I know my strong points and I know my weak points. I'm an old guy now. I mean, I'm pretty sure what's in store for me. I mean, I tell it like it is, and probably sometimes on the borderline scale of being rude. But I got an idea. This is about the end of the road for me. It just is. Yeah, no, not really. No, I'm probably in the worst. I've been in Chicago was really bad for that. And West Branch was pretty good. I just really wasn't into it at the time, to tell you the truth. I would, but it's got to be like really easy. Honestly, I don't think here's the real gist of it is the real problem is I don't act right to get the kind of person that I'd be interested in. I'm talking a lot of shit all the time. I'm just talking about porn and, like what I talked about tonight. That's not, I mean, in the real world, it's good for like YouTube chats and it's maybe entertaining to people that haven't had those experiences. But if you were looking for a guy to date, I doubt this would be attractive to you. Hey, jangle stick, you know what I mean? And I do think, like I was thinking today, I mean, I mean, I hope not about this. I mean, I hope I didn't like hurt the feelings of those moderators, you know, just because I didn't want to be in moderators anymore. Maybe I was too strong about that, but I'm like that about everything. You know, balls out all the time. You know, it's not a good trait, really. I mean, what people say they want and what they really want is like quite different. You know what I mean? I think it is. Yeah, it's fucking weirdo, man. I know that. Yeah, they say that, man. But you know, I'd have to like, you know, like if you were back in the days when you'd order a car, like you powered windows, cruise control. I mean, I just got like weird quirks and then like a wild ass side. You know, I like the part about like cultured stuff. And I believe me, I was a late bloomer in all this stuff. If you'd have known me when I was young, man, you would not believe where I'm at now compared to then. I was a total delinquent, big time. And then over the years, you know, I was always a bad student, and you know, I got into things slowly and late and everything, and I got around more educated and cultured people, and I started liking it. Before you know it, you know, by the time I got this age, I went from like hating things that I wasn't good at to liking things and reading and collecting things and appreciating orchestras and symphonies and poetry and prose and good books and excellent plays and all the things that I'd never been exposed to when I was younger. And it was really kind of like by default. It was like everything else just got too boring. And like every year I get better of like reading more. And like I'm always trying to improve my memory and get a basic understanding of a lot of things. Like I spend like 2 or 3 hours a day reading books on neurology. It's insane. I'll never be tested on it. I will never be a question on Jeopardy about it. I will never date anybody in that field. It's nuts. I don't know why these things. I'm obsessed with like these birds. It's crazy, man. You think that crazy guy is just turning on this camera for 12 hours? I'm watching it. I'm like always checking to see if there's vultures eating chicken. Yeah, it's nuts. I don't know why I like them so much. I think part of it is because they're such yeah, they're all books. Yep. Unsung heroes, man. I think I got a soft spot for the underdog. You know, anybody can love a big, damn beautiful lovebird or peacock, but it's all these ugly fuckers that people like don't know anything about, like vultures and stuff. I really got a soft spot in my heart. I want to like constantly help them out. You know? Yeah, it makes me happy. I do. Constantly. You won't believe how diligent I am about feeding these stuff around here. Oh, porn studio. Introduce her to me. Yeah. See, that's the weird thing, though. You know, this is the weird. You know, sometimes you don't like people that like what you like. You know, I've never really been able to like put two pieces together. I just don't think it's possible. Like a real like sexual lunatic liberal that just let me get away with murder, but yet someone that liked to go to like a symphony. I mean, I guess they're out there where I don't know. Maybe this is just something I've contrived in my own mind, but I tend to think they're not. Because I can tell you this, I've met some women down here, you know, and they'll meet them in a bookstore or something, and then I just lay it on them like how I am, and I know it just blows their fucking minds. It does. I think it just blows their mind. They're just like, and plus, this is like real Bible Belt stuff. You know, I try to. It's hard to like not offend somebody when you don't believe what they've spent their whole life fortifying in their beliefs. You know, they ask me what church do I go to? Fuck. God. You know, I've tried to like look it in the mirror and like see if I can give it away so easily. I say I don't really go to any church. And then it just goes downhill from there, which I'm fine with because I'm not going to tell somebody, you know, bullshit them about it. You know what I mean? I mean, you could take me out to the chicken ranch in Las Vegas and like there'd be 21, we'd be laughing, having a great time. But outside that bedroom, it's not going to be anything I'm interested in. It's constantly, no. He does have another 100 acres in Norwood you can hunt in, but not here. Yeah. Oh, they're doing it in Georgia? Oh, people are sensitive too. Oh, Southern Baptist. Oh my God. I probably have 1,000 books on religion. I could talk about the Bible all day. If you ever want to have a Bible discussion sometime at night, I'd love to. Love to talk about the Bible. I just don't believe, and I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying that, Christianity is a belief and it's a lifestyle. And I'm not living the lifestyle, and I really don't believe most of it. So I'm not a Christian. But, if you want to be one, great, and believe me, I could be wrong. I know this. I'm really like a factual guy. I want to see published studies, science. I don't want like folklore, parables, virgin births, walking on water, speaking in tongues, water into wine, burning bushes. I don't think life starts at conception. I could just go on forever about this. I just don't think. See, now, atheist doesn't really make sense either, because in order to be an atheist, you have to disprove God exists, which you can't do. I mean, agnostic is in the middle. You don't know if it's true or not. Agnostic, you can't disprove it. And of course, you couldn't prove it either. That's agnostic. But atheist is to prove there is no God, and you can't do that. Oh, yeah, I'll do it. I'd be glad to do that. Have a Bible study night. Definitely. Wish we could get some men of the cloth on here. If you guys know some preachers or priests, anybody men of the cloth. I don't want any of these mail order ones. Yeah, you can't prove it either way. See, so then you want to be agnostic, not atheist, supernatural. There's a big difference. It's a lack of belief. Look it up. I was a little confused on that too. Yeah, no one knows. It's a leap of faith. That's it. It's a leap of faith. Yeah. Yeah, the supernatural. I don't buy that stuff either. Yeah, no, I think the world is absolutely everything, all life, insects, all forms of life, the weather. I think it's just a level that we'll never comprehend. All living things like cells, I agree. I saw a lady rocking a little baby the other day in a thing in the supermarket, and it really got me thinking. It's just like, wow. Yeah, confused is a good way of putting it, right? Yeah. Oh, the flat. Yeah, he's got his own channel. He's a nice enough guy, but I mean, honestly, I don't want people on here that talk about the Earth being flat. We're not doing it. It's fucking nonsense, man. I don't know whether they got little penises or they weren't rubbed enough as a baby, but no, I don't mind discussing religion, but we're not talking about the Earth being flat. No fucking way. What a waste. Yeah, it's stupid. Yeah, fuck that. Fucking weird, man. I mean, come on some of this shit. You know what I mean? Like I say too, I voted for Trump. I think he's a jerk. I wish I didn't think he was a jerk, but I do. Yeah, but you just these flat Earth guys. It's such a waste of fucking conversation. Be like talking to like a Down syndrome fucking gold medal winner at the Special Olympics. I mean, that's great. Everybody wins first prize at that, don't they? I mean, and I'm not knocking Down syndrome. Extra copy of chromosome 21. It's really interesting, though. The high functioning, low function. I got a lot of books on that too. The Down syndrome. I'm glad I'm not one. I call my girlfriends out though when I get in arguments with them. I don't know about the Special Olympics for Down syndrome. I mean, that's usually the people. I mean, these fucking people don't even know where they're at half the fucking time. I hate to say it, but everybody gets first place. Ah, fuck. Yeah, he's done. Oh, hospice. Oh, really? Yeah, I'm sure hospice. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I don't know about that fucking shit. I guess it's okay. But, it's usually some big corporation bragging what great people they are. It's like all the Hollywood celebrities, they always got the camera around when they're doing something nice. What the fuck? Larry Flint, Jimmy Swaggart, yeah. Yeah, I see he's still on there. But, really, if you're a Christian, Jimmy Swaggart, it's the non-Christians that really hate him. I mean, you couldn't be in a better place to fuck around and get busted banging prostitutes when you were married than a preacher. I mean, fuck, you got a captive audience. I mean, they had to be fucking hugging you on Sunday. It's working a normal job is what causes the problems. I mean, you sinned. I mean, you need to repent. Fuck, there's a million ways out of it if you're in religion. It's the fucking non-churchgoer that gets caught that's fucked. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Until you face the Grim Reaper for sure. Nobody knows what's up. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, same with the death penalty. They give you like your favorite dinner or something when they're going to execute you. Fuck. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't feel like eating. So stupid, man. Yeah. Yeah, I'll have lobster tails. I got 33 minutes before I get fucking cooked like a Christmas turkey. Yeah. Yeah, no, if there's ever a time to not feel like eating, it's right then. Yeah, shit, you don't know. Yeah, Falwell. Oh, you don't want to die? Oh, why not? I think that's get a colonoscopy. I think that's what dying's like. Yeah, I always cook that stuff for other people though. Yeah, I've really backed off on. I quit coffee today. I think that's my problem. Even though I don't think it's related to acid, I can't quite figure this out. But I'm gonna keep trying things. Oh yeah, they're crazy. Liberty University, sure are. It's amazing the following they have. Look at Moody Bible Institute. Yeah, nuts. Shit, maybe they're right. I mean, I know some really good, smart guys. You look at the Jesuits, man. I mean, how somebody could be that smart? I don't know. Oh, that scares you, supernatural? It bothers you? What, like the unknown? You don't know what it's going to be like? I tried some of those. Yeah, I tried the bottle. I didn't try the chewable. Took a couple swigs of it. Was okay. I'm reading this book now. It just kind of fell off a pile of books I was stacking last night. It's about a professor that gives his last lecture. He's got 2 months to die, in his preparation up to it and what he's going to talk about, and moving his wife closer to other families so when he dies, it won't be as hard. I'm just starting to get into where he lays it on you about whatever it is. It's a short book, actually. I think I'm on chapter number 5. I'll probably read a couple of chapters in that tonight. But I think it's like interesting reading. You don't know until you're there. Oh, leaving your pets behind? Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't bother me. Everything seems to do well after you're gone. Life moves on. That's no shit. It just does. Look at Jackie Kennedy. I mean, there's all sorts of examples. It just moves on. What I think would be bad, I think about this sometimes, like the way this guy describes his wife and his kids. He's a young guy and he's a tenured professor. And I don't know how, let's say this is true. And they got lucky and they met each other. And you get that lucky and you produce 3 kids and everything's going great. And then he had pancreatic cancer. And you die and she lives. How does she ever date again? I mean, who ever can rise up to that occasion to replace what she had on an upswing, a good note, her soulmate? Oh, different stages? Oh, he would be lost. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. My mom had cancer in her pineal gland. I think it's just like I had some crazy dreams last night. I'm going to have some tonight too. My sleep's a little off. I had the stomach, it fucks up your immune system. And tonight I'm going to take a swig of ZQL, and I'll have the craziest goddamn dreams you've ever thought of. Just the weirdest shit in the world. Like riding O.J. Simpson with a saddle on him, cracking a whip in a hot air balloon or something. Just the most freakiest weird shit. I don't know how this stuff comes to my mind. I did that lucid dreaming, but I could see that was going to take quite a bit of more effort, and I got a lot of shit going on right now. I'll be out of it though by spring, and I'm going to really get into this lucid dreaming. Jeff knows this. You can control your dreams. I hope to be banging two blue-eyed, big-titted, blonde-haired supermodels at the same time by April. Wish me luck. Yeah, gonna party. Yeah. I wish I could manipulate my dreams like that. Well, that put any interest in dating right out the fucking window for good. Like to dream for about 2 hours a night. Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right about that. All things, whether it's diet, lifting weights, all things to get to where you want to get, take discipline. I'm like that with reading. I have to discipline myself. I don't really enjoy reading. Vivid crazy dream. What is that? What kind of medication is that, honeybee? Yeah, I have that book too. I have that book. I didn't read it yet though. It helps. It does. It does. I think it runs interference. If you have too much of it or you run out of it, you figure that out. But if you have an endless supply, and let's say you ran into money at your age now, it'd probably make you happy till the day you died. But if you get it too young, you can own every Maserati and house and airplane and all that shit. You'll run through all that and be back to being miserable again. Terrible. No, I canned her. I got rid of her. I dumped her a couple weeks ago. Fucking lunatic, psycho. I wasn't really into it that much. She pissed me off. And she's a fucking hoarder. She's nuts. She wanted to move down here. Fuck that. End up killing myself. I like these dreams that I have, to tell you the truth. Oh, B complex? I'll have to check that out. Huh. Yeah, nothing wrong with a good dream. I mean, I really get shook up on some of these dreams. Not like I'm getting killed or anything, but when I wake up, I'm glad it was a dream. I just think it's all chemical occurrences. The brain's so complex. Every year they know more about it than they did the year before, but there's a bunch of this shit that, you're trying to put logic to this abstract, chemical occurrence that's going on. And the influences is by what you've eaten and ZQL and all those kind of things. It's just, you're trying to get a logical explanation to an abstract thought process that, your brain would never work that way when you're alive. So I don't think they're ever going to make sense. That's the whole idea. It's just like your brain on neutral. No, she is no way moving in with me. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's awesome, man. We should have put it on a time lapse. Yeah, I wish we could have put it on a time lapse. Yeah, that would sound good. B complex, yeah. That's one thing they put in those energy drinks. Fortify them. Yeah, that's the best you can get. And ZQL and all these things affect that. Yeah, alcohol affects your REM, your deep sleep. Oh, you're probably getting in deep sleep then. Good for you. But there are some things on that I question sometimes, just like vitamin D. I think some of serotonin levels. All this stuff can't be possibly accurate. I'll give you an example. So I woke up the other day, like 5 minutes. Then I went back to sleep, and then I woke up again. And from the time I went back to sleep, then I woke up was only 23 minutes, and I was dreaming like crazy. And that does not jive with the theory of REM. I shouldn't have been in it that quick. It's not like you pick up where you left off. There wasn't enough time to go by to technically be in REM. So I think it could be bullshit. You just don't know what to believe. Brain, yeah. I think a lot of things are good for the brain, but it's so subtle you're not going to notice it. It's not like you're going to be getting Jew MCAT scores because you took it. All this bullshit, this natural, holistic crap, it's so fucking subtle. It's not like you're winning goddamn gold medals in the Olympics. You don't know whether you're getting better or not. You took one, you swallowed it, and you think it did, so you tell your friends you feel better. It's not science. It's just hillbilly logic. Bunch of bullshit. Magnesium and vitamin D. Yeah, I'll give you some vitamin D, honeybee. That'll make you sleep too. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, hillbilly logic. Vitamin D. Yeah, all right. Yeah, we'll have to make sure we get on the same page. Jeff, I think you should write a song and that should be the title. Because you could like spin it whichever way you had to, depending on the audience where you're playing. There's some motherfucker like me sitting in the crowd, you hear him bust out laughing. Then you hear a health nut, they'll raise their hands like, yeah, you take a lot. You could just work it any way you wanted to. Yeah, right. No, do it. Just say I'd like a new song that I wrote, it's Vitamin D. No, if you're sitting around somebody that's really crazy, they'll just take it the dirty way and you can run with it. Yeah, hillbilly logic. That's what I tell you. These people come on these chats sometimes, they just pull some of this stuff out of their ass. I ask them all this time, is this shot in a beer logic, or did you actually read this out of a published study? People are so full of shit. Vitamin D. Why not? Yeah, honeybee, it's all right. Yeah, sardines, yeah. Who the fuck eats those? Except a stray cat. I mean, sardines, I don't even see them anywhere for sale anymore. And what do you put sardines on? I got a book on sardines. I haven't read it yet. I'm going to, though. Sardines. It was like a big instrumental thing in like shipping fish that was like cured with salt. Cod, too. I mean, there's some fish out there that really like had a huge cultural influence in the world. Salmon, cod, some big ones. Sardines are that way, too. Anchovies. Oh, shit. Big up you. Yeah, they sure do stink. God, they sure do. Yeah. I'll put that on my dating profile. I love sardines. Oh, no shit. Yeah, I bet it is, man. Shit, yeah, lost cat. You probably get every cat within 100 miles. Hot sauce. I like that one too. Yeah, sardines. What do they even put them in? I know what I don't even know what does sardines go in. What do they put them on? Oh, that sounds good. Jangle stick. Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, we used to have that happen at that animal rehab place I worked at. We had shit getting out of there all the fucking time, especially baby deer, fawns. Those little fuckers will be sucking out of a bottle. It'll just look like a little rabbit. Bang, they'll do this kick. You're lucky if you don't get 40 stitches in your leg. And they're gone, man. They can jump too, even when they're real tiny. People come back the next day. Oh, what happened? We'd like to see Bambi. It's like, well, I got bad news. Bambi took off, got out. It's like, what? It's like, yep. It's just somebody was holding her and she jumped. Yeah, I haven't had them in a while either. Saltines, yeah. Oh, that's cool. Crackers, there you go. Yeah, Conan, there you go. Cleaning out the. Yeah. No, that's anchovies. You're thinking anchovies, Jerry. Chia seeds. Is that the ones where the little piece of soap grows hair? Chia doll? Yeah, they say all about this free radicals. Fuck. I think that's a bunch of bullshit, too. I begin to think caffeine's a bunch of bullshit, too. Yeah, they're cute. They're so cute. They got this natural thing, though. They'll be there sucking on a bottle, eyes shut, and then just like explode like a firecracker, man. There's no way you're catching them. Oh, onions. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, that's nice. Jangle stick. Oh, no kidding, Terry. Wow, really? Yeah, I haven't had one in a long time. I like oysters, smoked oysters. I think they're good. Oh, I'd try one. I'd get one. Next time I get through there, I'll look you up. You know, Toledo really rapes people on hotel taxes. It's like 30% if you stay in a hotel in Toledo. Did you know that? What a fucking scam. God. It's crazy. Well, you guys, I think I'm going to go to Betty Bye. I was going to go do a walk tonight. Didn't do that. That's all right. I'm going to get to sleep. Well, I appreciate you guys having come on. These impromptu chats are always the best. You know, you just getting on, say hello, and end up having a good chat. Didn't even think I would have one. Yeah, I think it's bothering my stomach, honeybee. Yeah, I quit. I didn't drink a coffee today. I'm going to try it for a week. I think it's the problem. For some reason, it aggravates my stomach when I get up. Oh, Bowling Green? Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you, Frisky. Yeah, thank you, Pug. You have a good night. Penny, you nighty night. Jangle Stick, you have a good night. Thank you. Bruce, have a good night. Thank you. Good night, Conan. Bye, Penny. You go nighty night. Gonna be cold most places still for a while. Yeah, good night. Terry, I'll see you later. Yeah, thanks, honeybee. Thanks for coming on. Good night. See you, Rob. Rock on. All you stalkers out there that never talk either. You say good night too. I wonder why this fucking camera looks fuzzy. I wonder whether it's low light. Piece of shit. I don't know. I'm thinking about getting a new camera, but you know, it might not help. A lot of stuff like that with cameras. You put them next to each other, you can barely tell. And they sell you on all this bullshit. All right, you guys. All right, have a good night.